They're
And
so smart.
we do want to remind you once again that there are any closings and cancellations, any information that you need to know on the crawl on the bottom of your screen. And if you're just tuning in, there's no school tomorrow. Actually, my kid's teacher called me today and said, by the way, there's no school tomorrow. And I said, I think I already knew that, but thanks a lot for calling.
My daughters could not be happier about that.
Sure.
Dad not feeling the same way, though. Right now, we're going to go back to David Bernard to get an update on the storm. David?
Well, Silva pretty much summed it up. Gusty winds, heavy rain at times. Let's kind of go along the coast. I don't want to get into too much detail here because we're going to have some special radar analysis coming up from meteorologist Craig Setzer. That's going to be at 1:30 when we do our restart here in about the next 5 or 6 minutes. But there's some very heavy rain that's getting ready to lift into portions of Hallandale Beach and also Hollywood Beach, where Silva is. And then also we've had Natalia Zaya down on Miami Beach. And boy, the beach is about to get hammered again. Same with Key Biscayne with some really heavy activity. This little batch right here, that's coming in the next few minutes. And of course, that's going to affect the Grove and also downtown Miami, eventually North Miami, Miami Shores. You're really going to get it again. And South Dade, where it just won't stop raining. I guess this is, if we're going to start having some street flood problems, I think this is the most likely area right now because it's just kind of not letting up. And we had Dr. Rick Knabb on earlier and talking about, you know, these persistent bands coming in from the southeast and moving to the northwest. That's what's been happening in South Dade. That's where the most persistent heavy rainfall has been over the last few minutes. Guys, back to you.
Okay, David, thanks a lot. And we want to remind you that if you need to leave the house and you're not watching us right here on CBS 4, you can always get updates by tuning in to 610 AM WIOD because they are broadcasting us live.
And as we take a break, we're going to take a look at what it looks like on Miami Beach. Some folks out there getting a glimpse of Tropical Storm Isaac. You
Someone's
can see
trying to protect their clothes, but I don't think it's doing that good of a job.
No, that poncho is really not helping very much. Anyway, that guy taking pictures. By the way, if you get some pictures of the storm, you can do it safely. By all means, send it to us. You can send it to pics@cbsmiami.com. CBS 4 News extended coverage of Tropical Storm Isaac continues after this break.
Neighbors for Neighbors was created out of the crisis of Hurricane Andrew's aftermath. Those affected by the storm needed help, and those spared wanted to help.
We opened up the phone lines. It was a great way of getting the community to just feel a part of the solution.
Those phone lines quickly became a lifeline for those in need. And for the past 2 decades, Neighbors for Neighbors has helped 5.5 million people as a nonprofit organization.
I think almost all of our success is due to partnerships. Not only our partnerships with the hundreds of nonprofits that we support and who support us with their good work.
The combination is so powerful in that we as a news organization are out in the community and we really are on the front lines of seeing people in need, and just having a nonprofit right there with us is just a powerful combination.
For more on Neighbors for Neighbors history, projects, and programs, visit neighborsforneighbors.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you the new Las Vegas. I have a warrant. Get out of my casino. I'm the law here. I will decide who's breaking it.
Welcome back to this extended coverage of Tropical Storm Isaac here on CBS 4. Sunday afternoon, 1:30. If you're just tuning in, we're bringing this special coverage to get you the very latest on what's going on with the tropical storm. But if you wanted to watch what was going to be on CBS 4, tune into MyTV 33, where you can catch that there.
Right now, we're providing you with extensive coverage of the storm. In fact, we have both Craig Setzer and David Bernard standing by. I guess I'm tossing it to David Bernard first, right, David?
Yeah, we're coming over here first, Elliot, and then stay tuned because we're going to talk about this tornado threat threat with Craig here in about 90 seconds or so. We're talking to Dr. Rick Knabb, the director of the Hurricane Center, and we have new hurricane hunters flying around in the plane. These were some of the last maximum wind observations we received earlier this morning. That's going to be updated probably pretty soon. And based on the radar observation, Craig and I think that the storm may finally beginning to maybe move toward that hurricane status. And that was the forecast from the Hurricane Center, that as it approached Key West, that was the most likely opportune time for this to maybe go to a Category 1 storm. If that happens, it's going to keep the weather really bad in the lower Keys for a longer period of time. And we also have a new advisory that's going to be coming up in about 20 minutes, a 2 o'clock advisory. This was the last one at 11. It was about 80 miles southeast of Key West, and so you can just about cut that in half now as it's getting ready to pass nearer to the south of there. Moving again at a pretty good clip, west-northwest at 18 with 65-mile-per-hour winds. So at least for sustained winds that could cause a significant wind impact, obviously the high threat continues for the middle and lower Keys. Our main concern in Dade and Broward are maybe for some gusts to that level, but sustained are likely going to stay in the 30 to 40-mile-per-hour range with occasional gusts to 50 or maybe 60, as we've seen really going back since midnight with some of the stronger storms. All right, so here is the broad picture of what's going on. That is where the center of the storm is right now. Here's that nasty band that was rotating through Key West that we saw that video from David Sutta and Vanessa Borge was live just a few minutes ago. But now if we look back offshore from Miami and Fort Lauderdale, you see there's these other bands that are developing across the Bahamas. All of that's got to come through tonight and before any of this is going to end. So it's going to stay stormy this afternoon and also through the evening hours. Now, something that we need to talk about, we have a tornado watch that's in effect. We actually had one viewer capture a funnel cloud in Sunrise between about 11 and 12 o'clock at night. But now that this storm is moving off toward the west, we've got these stronger southeast winds coming on the backside of the storm, and that's increasing the instability and our concern about isolated tornadoes across South Florida. And I want to bring in Craig Setzer for a good reason. I call him Mr. Tornado back in the weather office. I went to University of Oklahoma. I did a tour in Oklahoma as a broadcast meteorologist in Tulsa. I got out as quick as possible because that weather in the plains is completely crazy, Craig. But you've been a tornado chaser. Actually, if you check out his Twitter address at Craig Setzer, you'll see the most awesome picture I think I've ever seen of a tornado chaser. It's of Craig. What is the concern? Tell the viewers what I'm referring to with this increasing wind out of the southeast and what that means for the tornado threat.
Right. Well, we have the tornado watch, of course, because some of these conditions are becoming favorable. And several things we look for is instability so the thunderstorms can develop, but we also look for a favorable wind profile. And what I mean by that is winds near the ground are blowing from one direction and they're becoming increasingly southeasterly, and winds above the ground are blowing from a different direction. And it's that crossover of those two wind directions that creates the rotation in the atmosphere, and that's what we are starting to see. In fact, there's this one cell now, it's about to move into Biscayne Bay, that pops right out at somebody who looks for storms that produce tornadoes. And in fact, using a special radar technique that we have called, we call it Doppler 4D, it's this cell right there. Now, there's downtown Miami, there's Kendall, and so this cell right there is the one that we are watching. And I'm going to switch modes in here because there's a couple of different modes. In a Doppler mode, we can see that there's some rotation with that cell. Let me zoom in just a little bit on that. So it's right there. And what we're seeing are reds. Reds mean that the wind is blowing away. And green means the wind is blowing towards the radar. And so what we do is we infer that there's rotation in that cell right there. So we're going to be watching it closely. We also have a special computer algorithm that kind of calculates that for us. And you can see there's that little spot of red right there that's showing high rotational potential. And what that basically means is that the winds in this thunderstorm are rotating. There's the possibility of a water spout. And in fact, if it comes on shore, there's a possibility that it could be a tornado. So we're watching that very closely. And of course, should a tornado warning be issued, then we will get it to you right away. David? Yeah, Craig, I mean, we were looking at that. You said, hey, come over here, look at these. And we're starting to see, like you said, that notchy effect on radar. More of these cells are indicating that. And we showed this a few minutes ago, but we did have a viewer picture from Sunrise that I referred to between 11 a.m. and noon. Jason took this photo of a funnel cloud. And again, unfortunately, I think some of these storms we will get a warning on, but a lot of them we might not. So this just goes to the whole story of the weather conditions are dangerous outside. Anything can happen at any time, just about anywhere as the storm is moving through. So just
stay put. But again, some of these warnings could be coming out as we move through the afternoon hours. Elliot and Shannon.
Okay, David, thanks a lot. Yesterday when we were broadcasting live, we were going to Homestead, and we saw so many people, residents in Homestead, who were filling up sandbags to make sure that they could try to keep their homes safe and dry. And actually, they were going to give out sandbags today, but then they ended up canceling that. But,
and they actually ran out yesterday at 5 o'clock. People were in line getting those sandbags. And we're going to go to Kara Constanage right now. And Kara, we're just looking at the radar, and there was a lot of red and yellow, which means some pretty bad storms not far from where you are, but it looks kind of dry outside that Dunkin' Donuts, doesn't it?
You know, it is actually fairly dry out here outside of Dunkin' Donuts, other than all the water on the ground. I'm talking about in terms of the water falling from the sky right now. We did see a heavy lull come through here just a couple of minutes ago, but as you can see, it almost looks like it's not even raining. I got out my wind gauge just to show you guys how mild it is down here. If, Brian, you can pan back and look at this wind gauge, yeah, not even blowing when not out here, guys. So we've been pretty lucky down here in Florida City. We're pretty centrally located along US 1. We've seen a lot of people going to and from the Keys here today. I want to introduce you to a couple of couples who flew in just 2 days ago from Montreal to have a fantastic vacation here in South Florida. Their first time coming during hurricane season, and it hasn't ended up that way. I want to introduce you to Catherine. And Catherine, you've been here 2 days and you have 2 more days, but you've been down in Key West, and tell me what happened down there.
Well, basically we came in and we rent a convertible Mustang. So it was quite a funny thing. So we didn't really know. We heard about the storm, but it was kind of a surprise. We didn't know it was gonna be that big, and I think it's gonna last for all our stay, basically. So we changed our car. We changed it for a non-convertible, but we're trying to take it on the good side, and we're gonna do shopping and have fun anyway.
Well, way to keep a positive attitude about it. Where are you going next?
South Beach. So we had 2 nights in Key West, and now we have 2 nights to stay in South Beach.
And just think, the sun is shining in Montreal right now.
And Montreal is superb. It's very, very hot, sunny. But you know, it's the first time we actually see a hurricane live, so it's a kind of a nice experience in our life. It's a new experience, so it's funny.
Well, we appreciate you taking time to visit with us, and you're headed up to Miami right now, correct?
We're going directly to South Beach.
And David Bernard, I want to ask you, how safe is it for them to get on the road and head back up to Miami? Should they wait a while, or can they get back on the road and proceed?
Well, you know, that's been a question that a lot of people have been asking all afternoon long. Of course, we have employees here at CBS 4 that either need to leave work and go home or come into the station. It's really a personal decision that needs to be made. I think it's kind of at that level. You know, how safe and secure do you feel driving in these kind of conditions? Some people aren't as confident driving as others, so I would leave it up to the individual. But keep in mind, the closer to the coast you get, as we were discussing earlier, the wind gusts are higher. Obviously, on the elevated bridges, if they're going over toward Miami Beach, you get on the MacArthur, the Julia Tuttle, the winds are going to be a little bit higher there, so you're going to want to really hold on tight. And, you know, any of the intercoastals, even in Broward, that's where some of the stronger winds are going to be. Would not advise driving to the Keys. That I would definitely say that's a no on. But otherwise, it's kind of your own discretion is the way I would put it. I wouldn't recommend it, but I wouldn't just outright say you can't do it. If you really have a reason to get there, then it'd probably be okay. But if you don't, just sit around, wait, and in 6, 7, 8 hours, you know, maybe things are going to be getting a little bit better.
Well, I will definitely pass the message on, and of course they're only here for 4 days, so the ladies are hoping to do some shopping at Sawgrass Mills tomorrow, so hopefully things will be much better and everything will be open for you guys. So David says, you know, it's a personal decision on whether you do want to drive in the storm all the way up to Miami or not. So you guys have fun.
Okay. Be prudent.
Best of luck to you guys. We're going to toss it back into you guys in the studio.
They have a good attitude. Be prudent. That's exactly what to do. And even though the weather is beautiful right now in Montreal, they don't have the lovely beaches like we have in South Florida. And they're here for 4 days.
And they're going to go shopping. So, I mean, they're doing just fine. Too bad they had to trade in that convertible.
Oh, well.
They'll have to buy some spray tan to kind of like fake that they had some sun here in the Sunshine State. CBS 4's Cynthia Demas is joining us right now from the newsroom. And Cynthia, you have more viewer pictures to share with us.
I sure do. Look, they can put all the spray tan on they want, but the jig is up. Everyone knows what's going on here in South Florida, and some of our viewers have been nice enough to send in some pictures. We do appreciate them, and we'd like to share them with you right now. This is actually a picture from Jilda Unruh. She's not just a viewer, she's a CBS 4 employee, and she sent this in of Julia Tuttle Causeway. You can see some of the trees there just blowing in the wind a little bit. This was sent in by viewer Rick Abraham from Lauderhill West. You see the rain obviously was coming down very quickly in this picture, so they look kind of like giant raindrops. Our picture here is from Michael Garrity on Key Biscayne. That's a rough surf, Michael. We hope you are definitely not going in that. The rip currents are incredibly strong. Our next picture is from a viewer showing some clouds and some rain. You see it kind of fogging up the lens there. And then we have a picture from Antoinette Chestnut, and you see for Antoinette, part of the awning here got ripped down, so probably pull the other half down and take care of that once this storm is past. As David has told us, the weather conditions are dangerous. If you can safely take a picture, please do so and send it to us. Pics at cbsmiami.com. Pics at cbsmiami.com. Give us your name and your location when you send it in, and we would love to share it with the rest of our viewers right here on CBS 4. We'll have some more pictures coming up for you. Until then, Shannon and Elliot, back to you.
All right, Cynthia, thanks a lot. And by the way, I was curious to see if Sawgrass Mills was even open today for shopping. And by the way, it is. They're open until 8 p.m. tonight. So, but still, you're not advised to really go out on the road.
Once you brought up shopping, you honed it right in on that, didn't you?
Try to help out.
Yeah. Let's check in right now with Vanessa Borges, getting some pretty gusty wind right now in Key West. Right, Vanessa?
Absolutely, Elliot. Good afternoon, guys. Yeah, right now.
Oh, we lost Vanessa. We're getting some bad winds. She had said earlier that our live truck was sort of swaying a little bit because of where it was parked, and that Orlando Leyva, our operator, moved it to a safer location. So that could be part of the problem, is the signal swaying back and forth. Hopefully we'll get to talk to Vanessa Borges. These are live pictures, meantime, from Hollywood Beach, where they're also getting some gusty winds at this time.
That's right. They've been experiencing a lot of wind gusts, about 60 miles per hour, and we have Vanessa Borges back. Vanessa, we lost you for a little bit, but we have you once again. So you were saying it was pretty rough out there.
Yeah, it is pretty rough out here. We lost the signal because it's so overcast this afternoon. And earlier it was all about the wind. We were being picked up off of our feet. Now it's just all about the rain. And as you can see, it's coming down pretty hard and consistent, and that's the problem. Now, I was born and raised in Miami. I know the hurricane season very well. Went through Hurricane Andrew in my parents' home, but covering it for the news is a completely different story. We can see we're soaked earlier because of the wind. The pellets of rain were hitting the back of our legs. It was painful. So right now we're just kind of out here on our own. We see one bike rider over there. That's about it. Everybody earlier, there was tons of people out here playing, kids, people even walking their dogs. They had little raincoats for their dogs as well. Now you can see it's pretty much empty. It's pretty miserable weather out here. So everybody taking cover inside this afternoon. For now, we're live in Key West. Vanessa Borges, CBS 4 News.
Vanessa, thanks a lot. Talking about dogs taking a walk, mine would be blown away in this wind.
No way.
I got a little guy like that. Gotta be careful with him. Yeah.
We're going to take a break. As we go to break, more live pictures from Hollywood Beach as we continue this extended team coverage of Tropical Storm Isaac on this Sunday. Very dreary, wet Sunday. We'll be right back.
President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Can you guarantee as president those checks will go out on August the 3rd?
I cannot guarantee if we haven't resolved this issue.
George Zimmerman charged with second-degree murder for shooting and killing Trayvon Martin.
Zimmerman claims the shooting was justified.
Then things are going great. That's incoming.
We got a kid out there. He just got shot in the head during a battle. Kid
and he survived?
He survived, and he fought for 3 more hours.
Housing prices are stable. Unemployment rate is down.
But you saw
a record you can run on?
The bottom line is that all of those had nowhere to go but up.
A major ruling on health care reform.
New information about the sex abuse scandal at Penn State.
There'll be much more about this on your local news on this CBS station, and we'll have a full wrap-up here on the CBS Evening News tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you the new Las Vegas.
casino. I'm the law here. I will decide who's breaking it.
Watching extended coverage of Tropical Storm Isaac, and we want to remind you once again that if you want to watch golf, expected to start about 2 o'clock, head on over to MyTV 33 where you can watch that there.
And yesterday, Miami-Dade Mayor Carlos Jimenez had urged residents of Miami-Dade County to put up their shutters for the storm because we really did not know the intensity or where exactly it was going. This morning, the mayor addressed the media, talked more about that. He also talked about the county's 311 system, which is a great resource to get information. CBS 4's Jim DeFeeti has more from the Emergency Operations Center in Miami-Dade.
We're here at the Miami-Dade Emergency Operations Center with Mayor Carlos Jimenez. Mr. Mayor, so it looks like, Isaac, not so much a Miami-Dade event as it is more of a Florida Keys event.
A Florida Keys event, and it looks like Isaac could also be something of a panhandle Gulf Coast event in the future. So let's pray that Isaac kind of dissipates in the Gulf of Mexico and doesn't do any more damage to anybody else.
What do we learn from this? I mean, sort of Miami-Dade may have been a little rusty, not having gone through a hurricane in a number of years. Obviously, this never even turned into a hurricane for us. But sort of this became like an enhanced fire drill. So what did we learn?
Well, it's like a dress rehearsal for us. And so there are things that we will learn. We learn from every storm and every activation. And so we will learn from this. After this is all over, we'll do a postmortem, and then we will get better. And we should be getting better and better with each storm. The good thing is that this is not a major event. But the thing is that we will have a major event in Miami-Dade County sometime in the future.
How do you address the idea that some people might say, you know, we sort of overplayed this one. We sort of got ready and ramped up in part because the 20th anniversary of Andrew had it on people's minds. Do you think that this was overplayed or overbuilt?
No, I don't think so. I think, and that's something that I talked to my staff yesterday. I do not want to cry wolf. The message to residents is, yes, we will probably be telling you, hey, prepare for this, and every once in a while, it may not come to pass, and you have a good outcome like we had today. But without a doubt, one day we're going to say, you got to prepare for this. It looks like it's coming back. It's coming this way, and it will come this way, and we have to be totally prepared for that.
Miami-Dade Mayor Carlos Jimenez. I'm Jim DeFeeti reporting from Doral. Back to you.
Thank you, Jim. And anybody who has any second thoughts about, well, did we overreact, all you have to do is look at that footage of past hurricanes and what they've done, and you know that you're not overreacting. If you have a plan, it really isn't that hard. If you have that plan, you put it into place every year, it really becomes sort of second nature, and we write it out. And today, we have to write it out inside, indoors, and wait for this thing to pass us because it is going to become a major hurricane. That's what the National Hurricane Center said.
And we're very fortunate here that it's not going to be a hurricane for South Florida. Right. We're dealing with the tropical storm, but I think a lot of people are looking at it this way, Elliot. At least this gave them sort of a practice so they were able to get their hurricane kit. And of course, we're still dealing with a lot of wind and a lot of rain, and that's why we're staying on the air right now to keep you up to speed. And CBS 4's Silva Harapetian is joining us live from Hollywood Beach. And see, Silva, I was just talking about wind and rain, and look what you have there.
Yes, guys, you know, the wind has picked up just in the last few minutes. I can tell you it is actually gusting pretty strong here. A little bit difficulty standing and talking. The rain is also has started coming down. It's actually pelting us. I'm not really sure how and why people are still out. Take a look, taking a walk here on the boardwalk. There's a local bar that's open that's you know, a lot of locals out here hanging out. But take a look at these guys. Let me see if I can talk to them. I think that we're ready for the rain here, but come with me. Hi, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
We're on live TV. What are you guys doing out here today?
We're just taking a walk. We were tired of being inside the house.
Yeah, how long have you been inside?
Oh, we've been inside all morning. Well, actually, I just got up.
Yeah. And you have been hearing all of the warnings that we've been giving for folks to stay indoors, how dangerous it is. Do you live close by? Did you drive here?
Really, we haven't heard the warning. We were pretty much, well, she was watching a movie and I was sleeping. Okay. And we just decided to come out for a little walk.
Okay. Do you live close by? Did you drive
we live in Victoria Towers.
Okay. Did you see any damage on your way over here?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you very much. Be safe, sir.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. All right. They just wanted to come up out for a walk. We've seen a lot of people coming out, taking pictures. There's joggers jogging on the beach right now. You know, the reason we are telling you to stay indoors, it's because the wind picks up unexpectedly, and there is absolutely no warning whatsoever when it comes, and that could possibly be a danger for down power lines, plus the water, obviously a dangerous situation for everybody. Lifeguards have been telling us the beach is closed, so no swimming allowed. Surfers, surprisingly, none since this morning. We saw one person go in, but then a couple people came in and decided that that was not a good idea. So if you don't have to be outside, stay indoors. That's the best thing to do at this point. We're in Hollywood. Silva Harapeti, back to you guys.
Yeah, you can obviously see from those pictures, Silva, that's not where you want to be right now.
Not my idea of taking a nice, pleasant walk along the beach.
I think even though that guy just got up, he should go back home, maybe take another nap or something.
Yeah.
Might be a better way to spend this Sunday.
Look at this situation, and David Bernard, you and I have been through many of these, and aren't you glad that we don't see these kind of little crazy people out there enjoying a little surfing, or even remember one year when we had a guy on some sort of a kite surfing or things like that, windsurfing, and he was very seriously injured, and you certainly don't want to do that. So we're happy to see there's that might be the beach patrol.
Yeah, and we probably should get that video and show it to people as an example. Maybe we'll pull that up from our file. What you're referring to was Tropical Storm Faye. A few years back, and I can't remember, I may have been on Hollywood Beach. The kite surfer went slamming into the wall, and he said, oh, it's just a tropical storm. And along came one of those squalls, and it was like a 60-mile-per-hour gust. Boom, and off he went, and that was the end for him. So that's a really nasty squall that's in Miami Beach right now. Also, we have some people in Brickell and in downtown and in Coconut Grove that have been emailing us in and said, hey, this is the worst the storm has been in parts of a downtown Miami-Dade, and for good reason. Some really intense rain is coming in there. This is a live picture outside our studios at CBS 4, and we are in torrential rains. You cannot see anything outside right now. Some really nasty stuff. Also, what I pulled up here, these are the highest sustained winds right now on our neighborhood network. Now, these are the highest gusts at these locations since midnight. But if we look at the left column, these are current wind speeds. At Broward Health North, we have a sustained wind east at 27 miles per hour. At Miami Beach at Biscayne Elementary School, we are sustained east-southeast at 22, but I'm sure their gusts are popping into the 40s as we speak. And look at Coconut Grove at Dinner Key right now. We are sustained east at 35 miles per hour. The highest gust has been 50, and right now northeast, these have come down just a little bit at Key Biscayne at Parks and Recreations northeast at 17, but those first few ones I kind of pulled up because those were some of the highest gusts that we were seeing, at least in the last few minutes. Also, I just got the new advisory in. The storm has not strengthened, according to the Hurricane Center, so that's not new. But as we get more and more plane information in this afternoon, and again, Dr. Rick Knapp said that strengthening process may begin. Either way, it's not going to really change what we're seeing here in South Florida. Again, overall, the conditions that we've had the last couple hours is what we're going to continue to see. And as Craig Setzer pointed out a few minutes ago, you know, it's all about this tornado threat as well as the storm continues to move off to the west-northwest. I'm going to widen out the radar view here quite a bit, and you can really see what's going on. Again, obviously, there is the center of the storm just to the south and east of Key West right now. And what Craig was referring to are some of these individual cells that are tracking in off the ocean out of the southeast. And we have a lot of instability and a lot of potential rotation in the atmosphere that could spin up some of these brief tornadoes. So it's intense rain. It's the possibility of tornadoes. That threat's going to last all through the afternoon and maybe into the early evening hours. And there's even still the potential of flooding in a few spots. And power outages, I think, is going to be the real nuisance with this storm. Whether you lose power in your house or we start seeing some of those traffic signals inevitably go out, that can make things a little bit of a headache tomorrow as people start to get back on the roads and conditions do improve.
David, thanks a lot. And speaking of power outages, we do have some information from Florida Power and Light. As of 1 o'clock today, Broward had about 4,900 customers without power, but they want to stress that's out of 800,000 customers that they have in Broward. In Miami-Dade, out of more than 1 million customers, about 8,500 are without power, but they have thousands of people working to try to restore that power. So let's hope more people don't lose their power.
Yeah, they brought in, I think, more than 5,000 folks from out of state and out of the county to help out, not only line workers, but also people that trim trees and pick up the debris. So they are on top of it. But if you're one of those 4,900 people, you want your power in August in South Florida. It's not comfortable at all. So we'll be monitoring that situation as we look at some live pictures right now from Marathon. David Sutter has been down there in the Keys, so has Peter Dench, and you can see right now it's windy, but it's not that bad. But however, there have been some gusts of winds in some part of the Keys of 60 miles an hour, and you don't want to be out there during that. There have also been gusts reported in other parts of South Florida, specifically in Pompano Beach of 60 miles an hour and about 59 miles an hour in West Miami-Dade at Braddock Senior High School. And look at those seas out there. They are choppy. Definitely not a time for anybody to be out on the water at this time. Right now, I think we want to go to Miami Beach, right?
Yes, we're going to check in with CBS 4's Natalia Zea, who is on the beach, and you can see the waves are very choppy behind you as well, Natalia.
Yeah, I don't think you guys can actually tell how rough this really is based on the water. It is so rough. The wind is pushing me forward, and we just got a break from the rain because before it was rain and wind just pounding into us. It was really, really rough just a second ago. The winds are very, very high here. Why don't we take a look over here, Peter, to try to give them an idea of what we're dealing with out here. Now, the grass is definitely bowled over, and the palm trees, I mean, you can see it. I mean, completely one side of them is totally flat because they're completely bent over from the winds that are out here. At least we have a little respite from that rain, that torrential rain when it just hits you, combined with the sand. Oh, it makes you just want to hang up the towel. It is definitely rough out here. And you know what? Take a look down here. There's been so much water that there's actually been some gathering of water here. We're definitely going to see some kind of flooding here in Miami Beach. That's something that they're usually very concerned about. And you can see over there the Ocean Rescue is driving by. They have been driving by up and down the beach, trying to make sure that no one goes in the water. Though anyone who would go in the water right now is crazy. Even the craziest kite surfer knows better at this point than to get in this water. I mean, the waves are just terrible. We have seen a number of people earlier walking up and down the beach, but not so much anymore. Now, back to the flooding, because Miami Beach does deal with a lot of localized flooding, a lot of issues there. They have just announced that all of the municipal parking garages will be open for free for car storage. So basically, if you live on the beach and you're in one of those underground lots, we have seen this time and time again that they flood. I've covered Ferraris, Bentleys, Maseratis just completely flooded. You can take those cars and any other car to the municipal garages. You can park them for free to store them because you don't want them to be ruined in all of this. And hopefully you are staying inside for the rest of the day. Don't come out here. We're about to go back to the truck ourselves.
Yeah, it looks like you need a break, Natalia, from that rough weather. Thanks for bringing us that live report. And we want to remind you that you can always get complete coverage of Tropical Storm Isaac on our website. Check it out at cbsmiami.com/tropics. It includes the latest advisories, and we also have printable hurricane guides for you there. And lots of cancellations and announcements. Too many for us to announce here. That's why we have a big list for you there at cbsmiami.com. But of course, the big one regarding cancellations, schools, Miami-Dade, Broward, Monroe County, no school for any kids tomorrow.
Same story at the University of Miami and Miami-Dade College here in South Florida. Also, no classes scheduled tomorrow as a precaution as a result of Tropical Storm Isaac. We're going to take a look right now what it looks like on Hollywood Beach. We saw Miami Beach a little while ago, and pretty much the same story there on Hollywood Beach. You don't want to be out there. We saw a couple of people walking on the boardwalk there, but hopefully they weren't going very far. If you want to see what it looks like during Hurricane Isaac, just keep it right here on CBS 4. We're on top of the storm with you, and we'll have the latest advisories coming up.
President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Can you guarantee as president those checks will go out on August the 3rd?
I cannot guarantee if we haven't resolved this issue.
George Zimmerman charged with second-degree murder for shooting and killing Trayvon Martin.
Zimmerman claims the shooting was justified.
Then things are going great. That's incoming.
We got a kid out there, he just got shot in the head during a battle. Kid
and he
fought.
survived?
He survived, and he fought for 3 more hours.
Housing prices are stable. Unemployment rate is down.
But
Is
you
that
saw
not a record you can run on?
the bottom line is that all of those had nowhere to go but up.
A major ruling on health care reform.
New information about the sex abuse scandal at Penn State.
There'll be much more about this on your local news on this CBS station, and we'll have a full wrap-up here on the CBS Evening News tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you the new Las Vegas.
I have a warrant.
Get out of my casino.
I'm the law here. I will decide who's breaking it.
This is a CBS 4 Tropical Storm Isaac update.
Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm Elliot Rodriguez.
And I'm Shannon Horry. CBS 4 will be with you all day with everything you need to know about Tropical Storm Isaac. We want to do everything we can to help you and your family stay safe.
And now what we're going to do is go to our chief meteorologist, David Bernard, who's been following the storm very closely. And David, we're getting the brunt of it right now, and it's sort of on again, off again.
Yeah, that's basically it. And again, as far as keeping everybody safe, you know, as long as you stay home, most likely you're going to be safe. A lot of people want to know if they can drive. Honestly, in the Keys, I would say absolutely not. In Broward and Miami-Dade, I would say it's up to each individual person if they feel they're capable of driving in these conditions, but I would not describe them as safe, although I wouldn't just say an all do not get on the road. But that's my advice to you right now. And of course, if you stay at home, it's all about the pictures, and we're bringing you tons of them here on CBS 4. Hey guys, we just got the new advisory in a couple of minutes ago. This is an intermediate advisory, so there's no update to the track. Of course, the track doesn't really matter to us in South Florida anymore because the storm is happening right now. It's 50 miles to the south-southeast of Key West, and we still have that west-northwest movement at 18 miles per hour. They dropped the winds from 65 to 60. I'm not really sure why, but again, that's not going to make any kind of difference to the sensible weather that we're seeing here in South Florida, nor is it going to make any difference to where the highest threat of significant wind impact is going to be here in the Keys. Again, in Broward and Miami-Dade, our biggest risk is what we've been seeing most of the day, and that's for little strong wind gusts from time to time, but not necessarily high sustained winds. Now, notice that's where the new center is, basically right on top of Key West. Again, plenty of these bands are continuing to form to the southeast and move to the northwest. In fact, we had some viewers email in and some calls in the last few minutes saying, hey, the weather in downtown Miami and also in Brickell and Miami Beach, this is by far the worst that they had seen from Isaac so far. And again, this is going to continue through the afternoon, we think, and also as we go into the evening hours. So that's the rain. Here is the wind, and basically we just have the huge area of tropical storm force winds covering most of South Florida and the Keys, and we don't think much is going to be changing. Now, this is a pretty ominous live picture outside our studios here at CBS 4. Look how fast these clouds are moving, and again, we're looking to the southwest here, and so this is coming from the east and the southeast down in this direction, and these low dark clouds are just racing across the sky. And you know what this is telling us is that, first of all, obviously what we do already know is that there's a lot of high surface wind going on, especially out of the southeast. And as Craig Setzer mentioned earlier, we also have winds blowing out of the east and east-northeast higher up in the atmosphere, and that's a favorable setup for tornadoes. A reminder, you know, we do have that tornado watch that's in effect for all of South Florida, but we had a really big squall that came through here just a few minutes ago. In fact, if you look at our WeatherBug network, the rain totals, some of the heaviest has been in South Dade. Look at Richmond Heights is approaching 3 inches, and there you can see some of the other heavier amounts. Miami Museum of Science, where we had those intense rains, and the Grove, they picked up a quick inch and a half of rain. The wind gust there so far has been registering about 35-40 miles per hour, and that's what it's been really for most of the areas. So kind of status quo around here. Torrential rains over parts of the areas, guys, and some areas not very good at all for driving, but again, some of those hardier ones, we just can't say no, you can't do this and you can't do that, but it's at their own risk.
David, real quick question. Compared to what we were looking at yesterday, it seems like this storm, as far as the winds and the rain and what we're seeing, it's going to move out of our area sooner than we anticipated.
Maybe by a little bit, Shannon. Again, when you talk about a tropical system, you know, everybody looks at the cone or they look at where the storm is at the current time. And again, that's where the center of the storm is. So when we show a new advisory, we show, you know, here's the center of the storm right here. But again, that's not where all the weather is. Look, the weather, there are bands extending all the way up to Fort Myers. Even some of them are making it to Tampa. So the bad weather with these storms extends hundreds of miles away from the center of the storm. So as a result, a tropical system being so massive like that, it can take a long time for the storms to clear out. One thing that the Hurricane Center director was talking about, Dr. Knabb, and we're going to have him here in about 90 seconds again for another update, is that oftentimes when you have a strong tropical storm like this covering such a wide area, it can actually take longer for the rain and the winds to wind down because the core is not consolidating. Now, that may be something that happens with the storm once it pushes into the Gulf of Mexico and begins to strengthen. But as a result, the rain and the wind, that's just going to keep on rolling on. But yeah, the overall progression maybe is about 3 or 4 more hours faster than what was indicated yesterday. But as far as the intensity of the storm, it's pretty much right on target from what the Hurricane Center was calling for.
Thanks a lot. We're going to check back with you in about a minute or so to hear that interview with Rick Knabb, the director of the National Hurricane Center. But right now, let's go out to Hollywood Beach and CBS 4 Silva Harapetian. And Sylvia, how's the wind out there?
Well, it's gotten a lot worse, not just the wind, but also the rain. We're getting pelted, and I've got a wind gauge here that reads about 40, 45 miles an hour. This is not the time you want to be out here. We've seen a lot of people coming out for a walk, taking their dogs out, some people on the bike, just taking a walk because they think this is beautiful, and it sort of kind of is, but this is not the safest thing to do in the world. We're looking at about, here, take a look, 40 miles, 40, 45 miles an hour. And this just picked up a few minutes ago, so we're getting the brunt of it. Take a look at the ocean. Obviously, look, we've got police officers out here. Hollywood Police has been patrolling the boardwalk, making sure everybody's safe. Fortunately, no one's gone swimming in the ocean, and that is the good news at this point, because lifeguards said that the ocean and the beach was closed to swimmers today. Double red flags, obviously. I've got a local bar here that's got a lot of local people that are in here, obviously watching CBS 4 News. And watching and listening to our warnings, but this is not the time you want to be out here. 40, 45 miles an hour wind, and also the rain has picked up. This is not a good time to be out because if the wind picks up, you got power lines plus the water. This is not a good situation for anybody in case that does happen. We're live, Silva Harapeti on CBS 4 News. Back to you guys.
Thanks a lot. I think the name of that place was Toucans. Maybe Silva should run in there for a little bit and dry up. And we thank them for watching CBS 4 News coverage.
I'm sure she's making lots of new friends there. Let's check in once again with Chief Meteorologist David Bernard. David?
Okay, Shannon, thanks a lot. Again, we have been checking in about every hour and a half over at the National Hurricane Center. We were talking to James Franklin a couple of hours ago, one of the specialists there. And last hour we had the honor of talking to the new National Hurricane Center director, Dr. Rick Knabb. He joins us again at this hour. Rick, we saw the 2 o'clock advisory come out. No surprises, right on target from what you said about an hour ago, that as of yet, the storm really isn't strengthening. But you've got a really good satellite picture back there that I'm sure you're going to use to explain to our viewers what's going on with the storm right now. Overall, it does look like the structure of the storm is trying to improve maybe a little bit more. The thing about Isaac, it's really been an underperformer all along. It's never really developed one of these central dense overcast or a central core that you need in a tropical system to get it to intensify. Maybe explain to the viewers what that is, and do you see any evidence of that process starting to take place?
Yeah, David, and the fact that it's been struggling has a history in the fact that it wasn't that well organized in the Caribbean before it got to Haiti and Cuba. Then it was disrupted somewhat by interacting with those land masses and mountainous terrain, and then was hugging the north coast of Cuba as it made its way to its current location about 50 miles south-southeast of Key West. And so whenever a system is dealing with that many impediments, it's just not able to take advantage of the warm water. So fortunately, it has not strengthened today. Really good to see that, so that the folks in the Florida Keys can know that the chances of this becoming a hurricane before reaching them are decreasing, but the hurricane warning is still up. It eventually is going to become a hurricane, but I'll urge folks to remember, though, that there's not a whole lot of difference between a high-end tropical storm and a low-end threshold Category 1 hurricane. The outcome is similar in that most folks in the Florida Keys, we already knew we're going to get tropical storm conditions, and that's also occurring up on the Florida peninsula, especially on the southeast coast. And the flood potential due to the rain is still the same. You could really get yourself into trouble by getting out on the roads today.
Yeah, and that's what we've been trying to discourage people against. You know how some South Floridians are. You can say no, 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 no so many times, and yet some people are going to be willing to do that, and we just tell people it's at their own risk. We had Craig Setzer on a little bit earlier, who I know you know very well, and we were talking about the tornado threat, and especially the fact that the southeasterly winds now starting to increase that gradient as the storm is now moving to the west of us, and we've even seen a little bit more indication on Doppler radar of rotation in spots. We're going to kind of be in that sector for a while, it looks like, in the Upper Keys and Dade and Broward.
Yes, and it's the right side of a tropical storm or hurricane that can throw these bands onshore into land areas that can have some brief spin-ups into relatively weak as compared to some of these huge tornadoes in the plains, for example, but still potent and dangerous and short-lived tornadoes that you're going to have a really hard time seeing coming. So it's best just to not even risk it and you know, stay indoors so that if one of these short-lived tornadoes comes your way, you're going to be much safer inside than out on the road. So that's a risk, especially in the southern part of the Florida Peninsula and the Florida Keys, a little bit of a risk also into central Florida. And so, you know, a lot of hazards to deal with, and it's really not going to get completely better until into tomorrow.
Okay, Dr. Rick Knabb, I appreciate that. We are going to check in with you later this afternoon because at that point I want to advance the story a little bit. We're going to talk about the northern Gulf Coast and your concern for a big hurricane there, either for the Panhandle or maybe as far west as New Orleans. And I know you'll have a big advisory coming out at 5 o'clock. Thanks for joining us right now. Dr. Rick Knabb, director of the National Hurricane Center. And guys, we've got our weather to get through here today, tonight, and the first part of tomorrow. But the final headline has not been written on this storm. And the Hurricane Center now is predicting a strong Category 2, borderline Category 3 hurricane in the northern Gulf in the next 48 hours. And it looks like some hurricane warnings are going to be issued possibly soon with that 5 o'clock advisory. So, of course, we're going to keep viewers informed on that as we do always during hurricane season, whether it's South Florida or anywhere else along the United States coastline.
Right, and as he did point out, there's really not much of a difference between a big top tropical storm and a lower grade hurricane. As we know, that there have been a number of shelters that have opened throughout South Florida, and we just found out that at Michael Kropp Senior High School, one of the shelters, there are about 25 people there because we were curious as to how many people were leaving their homes and seeking coverage in a shelter. So 25, but we're going to continue to get those updated numbers for you.
We will, but right now we want to get an update live from Marathon, where CBS 4's Peter Dench is out there braving the elements. And Peter, looks pretty wild behind you. A lot of rain and a lot of winds whipping up.
That's right, Elliot and Shannon. You know, thanks to our technology, Live View, we were able to move locations. We moved from Marathon to Key Colony Beach. And with my photographer right now, we can pan over briefly without the lens getting too wet. We are looking at the Atlantic Ocean. The winds are coming out of the east. It's a pretty impressive sight. Isaac is out there somewhere, and the winds are picking up, and it's been a steady rainfall ever since. Very few people are here right now. I am with the one resident who is here, Joe Pereira. Joe Pereira has lived here off and on pretty much for 25 years. And Joe, if you could come over here and join us and talk about these conditions. Is this everything we are expecting with this tropical storm?
Yeah, pretty much. It's really on schedule, and it's behaving the way we would think it would behave. When we spoke earlier, the winds were coming out of the northeast. Now they've shifted, and it's more an easterly wind, which is now bringing those seawaters into this channel. And high tide is coming at about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock tonight. And so with the surge, we're going to see some activity here, and hopefully there'll not be any damage.
It's much better than what we had feared might happen when we woke up the other morning and we saw perhaps Category 1, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if it's the wind that does the damage. So right now we're at a lower level where I guess we're not really at a Category 1, although some of these gusts feel pretty high. But it's the wind that does the damage, bringing the surge in, and then the wind does damage to the trees and landscape and buildings.
Now, earlier, Craig Setzer told us expecting a storm surge here of anywhere of 2 to 4 feet. What are your concerns about the storm surge? Damage to the docks? Or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's the danger, because as the tide increases normally, and as I said, that's going to be about 6, 7 o'clock tonight, and then you get a surge on top of that 2 to 3 feet. We're only right now, I'd say, about maybe 2 feet. The water level is about 2 feet below the dock here. And that could present a problem. That hydraulically, it just, those waves are pounding on the dock.
You were here for Hurricane George in 1998, and while it's tough to compare it to that, there's similarities in terms of the wind, how it came, correct?
Yeah. Those were much higher winds. They were well over 100 miles an hour, and it was a super high tide. We're at a partial moon. I think it's a half moon, so the tides aren't as they normally are. And hopefully the storm, the center of the storm, is going to pass us, so that the wind changes from an east direction to a southerly direction, and we won't get as much water in here as it relates to this particular property.
Joe Pereira, also a fellow Connecticut native, thanks for getting wet, talking to us once again.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And so I want to pose a question for David Bernard. I was asked this by Jimmy Cephalo on the radio. Is this everything we can expect with a tropical storm? Let me ask you, David, is this what we would expect with a tropical storm like this?
Can you repeat your question for me, Peter?
Yeah, is this what we were expecting with a tropical storm like this? Is this what you'd about expect with a tropical storm of this nature?
Yeah, this is pretty much exactly what we would typically see during a tropical storm. An intensifying tropical storm. It's very gradually getting its act together, but yeah, it's this kind of weather that we see right here. I've seen some reports out over the water near Key West of sustained winds near 50 miles an hour. That's pretty impressive. And in some of these heavier bands, we're likely to see some wind gusts to about 65 or 70 miles an hour.
And let me ask you this, how long do you expect this to continue? This has been like this here for a couple of hours, pretty much without any let-up.
Yeah, it's going to be like this at least through the evening hours. It's going to take some time for this to wind down. And remember, because the system is gradually strengthening, even though it's moving away, it'll be expanding a little bit. And because it's expanding, it's going to cause these bands to go on for a little bit longer. So it's going to take probably a good chunk of the evening to get rid of the main core of the system. And then we're going to see more bands, but less periods of those bands as we head into the overnight hours and tomorrow morning.
Okay, well, thank you. Again, very wet and very windy, but certainly not what some people had feared this might be. We're live here in Key Colony Beach. Peter Dench, CBS 4 News. Let's go back to you, Shannon and Elliot.
Hey, Peter, before you leave, your friend from Connecticut brought up a good point that high tide will be tonight at around 6 o'clock. Do they expect any problems with that? And I'm also wondering, you're on the ocean side there of Marathon. Have you taken a look over on the Gulf side? Is the situation pretty much the same?
Well, Elliot, in fact, we did look at the Gulf side. Conditions seem to be somewhat similar, but not quite as fierce. I mean, I guess it's the wind coming out of the east, churning these seas, and I think that that's the biggest blow here. So I think it's stronger and more fierce on the Atlantic Ocean side of this storm, Elliot.
Thank you, Peter.
And we've been getting some terrific pictures in from lots of viewers, and CBS 4 anchor Antonio Mora is in the newsroom right now with some more viewer pictures that he's going to share with us. Antonio?
Yeah, Shannon, I've been just looking out the window here in the newsroom, and it's blowing hard in Doral, and I think that's what's happening pretty much throughout our area, as we saw with Silva and with Peter. And now we've got some viewer videos to show you. Why don't we start with the first one? This one came from New River in Fort Lauderdale, and as you can see, it's blowing hard there, raining hard, but the boats that are docked seem to be doing just fine, even though clearly the weather has taken for a turn for the worse there. Now let's switch over to Tamarack. This is video from Tyler Harris, and we can see a body of water there, and you can just see the water just flying over the surface of that body of water, the wind just blowing very, very hard there in Tamarack. Why don't we move on now, and let's take a look at what George Garcia sent us from Homestead. You can see the trees just blowing everywhere. David Bernard was telling us just a little while ago that some of the strongest winds in that area from Homestead up to Fort Lauderdale are really what we're seeing now, and this is certainly evidence of that. And now let's show you one final video. This one came from my wife in Coconut Grove. Julie sent this to me a little while ago, and as you can see, she was just saying that some of these trees are just completely bending over, and we've been getting some of the worst gusts in that area, Coconut Grove, Brickell, that we've seen over the past hour or so. So again, our thanks to all our viewers for sending us these pictures, and a reminder, if you see the effects of Tropical Storm Isaac, please capture it and send it to us. Lots of you are. We really appreciate it. Our email is pics@cbsmiami.com, and you can see your image right here on CBS4 if you send those to us. So please continue to do it. Shannon, Elliott?
Antonio, thanks a lot. Of course, we've been very focused on Tropical Storm Isaac, concerned about what kind of impact it might make here on South Florida, but they've really been watching it too, because about 70,000 people were going to Tampa for the big convention there, and we have received word that Governor Rick Scott will not be taking part in the activities on Mondays or Tuesday with the convention. He's going to focus on what's going on with the now Tropical Storm Isaac, but the candidate Romney is not here yet. He's at his vacation home in New Hampshire working on his speech. He's going to give a big speech on Thursday, but they're very busy because they have 4 days worth of activities that they're going to squeeze into 3 days now.
Yeah, and I heard the police chief there in Tampa also saying that she believes that they're ready. They've been preparing for this. And one of the challenges, as we look at these pictures from Hollywood that they're going to have in Tampa, Shannon, is those of us who live in Florida are used to dealing with tropical storms and hurricanes, but there are hundreds and thousands of people who are coming from other parts of the country who have no idea what this is all about. And one of the challenges for the folks in Tampa is going to be to inform these visitors to Florida, this is what you do during a hurricane. And one of the things you don't do is go out there and look at these winds or during a tropical storm and really give them the basic stuff that we know that's sort of ingrained in our brains because we're Floridians, is going to be new to so many people attending the convention in Tampa the next few days.
Absolutely right. These live pictures once again from Marathon, and that is where Tropical Storm Isaac is moving through at this very moment. More extended coverage of Tropical Storm Isaac here on CBS 4 will continue right after this. South Florida families in crisis. Join the Neighbors for Neighbors Family Fund.
People need to start helping their neighbors. A feeling that you've never experienced before in your life. And it's only a feeling that you get when you give to people like that.
On behalf of my foundation, also with Neighbors for Neighbors, with everything that they do, it's just a great partnership.
We want to help in every aspect that we can.
It just warms the heart.
To find out how to get involved, call Neighbors for Neighbors or visit neighborsforneighbors.org.
Excuse me, Mr.
Sherlock Holmes.
Joan Watson.
There are 2 broken glasses here. You can tell from the volume of shards. Good. Base of glass number 2.
I take it you two have worked together before?
You're certain your men have been over every inch of this house?
Of course.
She's in the safe room.
What safe room?
One behind that wall. Sometimes I hate it when I'm right. Better. I'm sorry for your car. I just...
Couldn't help yourself. Yeah, I'm starting to see how that's kind of a thing with you.
Welcome back to our extended coverage of Tropical Storm Isaac as it makes its way through South Florida, impacting the Florida Keys, Miami-Dade County, Broward County. We're all feeling the storm, which the National Hurricane Center believes will regroup and will turn to a stronger storm once it passes our area. But right now we're dealing with it. We're advising everybody to stay inside. Just watch this, ride out the storm with us, watch the images, stay safe, don't go on the roads unless you absolutely have to, because this is something that could cause some problems, because we are getting some pretty strong gusts of winds out there around 60 miles an hour.
And this is causing a lot of people, of course, to alter their plans. You, I'm sure, have had to change your Sunday plans. Kids don't have school tomorrow. And of course, it's made a big impact at our local airports. CBS 4's Kim Bokamper has more from Miami International Airport.
Well, as you would expect on a Sunday afternoon, Miami International is a buzz of activity here. A lot of people wanting to travel. A lot of people have places to go, but that's kind of changed recently as of 11 o'clock. If you take a look at the boards over here, you see a lot of canceled flights. As of 11 o'clock, over 550 flights have been canceled. 289 of those are flights that were due to come into Miami International. That has changed. Now, just to give you an idea, we're here earlier this morning at about 5 o'clock, and at that point there were a little over 130 flights that were canceled. So between then and now, you can see the difference. Over 550 flights canceled, and people are just kind of taking it in stride. Most of them just kind of finding a comfortable place to sit and try to decide what's going to be their next course of action, wondering if and when they're going to get back on a flight and get to continue their travel. I know a lot of people are coming back off vacation, a lot of people trying to get back with loved ones and just continuing their trips. But right now, as far as inside the airport, while people keep moving around, it doesn't seem like there's much activity out on the runways as the runways have been shut down for the most part here at Miami International. Now, they are telling people that, look, if you have a flight, if you've got a flight confirmed to go somewhere, call ahead. Call your carrier before you come to the airport. Find out if indeed your flight is continuing to go. If so, then make your way down and you'll save yourself a lot of trouble if your flight has been canceled and you call, or go online and find out it's been canceled and not come down here. But as I said, a lot of people, and you can see them right here, just kind of waiting it out, and everyone's staying calm, cool, and collected. No one's aggravated. I'm sure there's some frustration with a lot of people here for not having the opportunity to get on their flights. But I had spoken to one person earlier that did have a flight out of MIA going to Dallas at around noontime, and he did get out on his flight. So there are some flights beyond 11 o'clock that did get out. I'm sure that number is dwindling a little bit, but like I said, if you've got a flight and you want to make sure, get a hold of your carrier, find out if your flight is still going. If you can confirm that, and then come to the airport. If not, then stay home and continue to check back and find out when they'll be going. It'll make it a lot more comfortable for you to go about it that way rather than just come and hang around the airport. So as you can see, life goes on at Miami International. From Miami International, I'm Kim Beaucamper, CBS 4 News.
Yeah, well, we do have great airports. It's not really the place that you want to go and hang out for hours. But Kim Beaucamper, the guy who certainly knows a thing or two about flying, since he's always covering so many football games.
And just a couple of days ago, he was at the Dolphins game against the Atlanta Falcons in a deluge. And that seems like such a long time ago, but it was only Friday night.
That seems like a month or two ago.
It seems like forever.
Right.
And it probably seems like forever for Vanessa Borge, because she's been standing out there by the shoreline in Key West, a big smile on her face, Vanessa, and I can only guess that's because the rain has let down.
Yes, absolutely. I don't even know what day it is, Elliot, to be perfectly honest. We've been going live all morning long, live coverage for you on Isaac since 5 o'clock this morning. And as of right now, you can see I have that big smile on my face because conditions are getting a lot better here in Key West. The last couple of times you saw me, I was practically toppling over from the wind. Last time you saw me, it was pouring rain on top of us. I'm pretty much soaked right now, but as you can see, everything looks really good behind me. Look at those waves, not too choppy, still a little hazy out there. We can still see the boats across. Earlier this morning, we couldn't see any of the boats out that were docked out in the middle of the water just because there was so much rain, so much haze and overcast. But now you can see the clouds are moving pretty quickly. So Isaac is moving out of Key West quickly. We like that here, especially because now the rain is going to move out, the winds are going to move out, and then it's time to see what damage happened throughout the streets. We know that there's definitely going to be some flooding from all that rain earlier today. For now, reporting live in Key West, Vanessa Borge, CBS 4 News.
That's right, Vanessa, and we heard earlier from the Florida Keys that when high tide comes a little bit later on tonight, they could be seeing some storm surge, so we'll be checking back with Vanessa and our other reporters in the Keys.
Yeah, it's nice to see that she's dry at the moment, but as we know that those bands do come through, and they can come through rather quickly, and before you know it, you're stuck in lots of wind and rain, and CBS 4's Silva Harapetya knows a thing about that. She's joining us now live once again from Hollywood Beach. Silva?
Hi guys, you know, from Key West to Hollywood, we have not seen a break in the rain. We are seeing a break in, excuse me, not in the wind, but we are seeing a break in the rain. I want to show you people still at the beach here. People are insisting to come out to see what the storm is like. They're insisting to take pictures. Everybody is curious, but I want to tell you a little story about Chris here. Chris is joining me here live. Now, he is a native Hollywood. Okay,
Yeah.
so he's been here all his life. How many storms have you been through?
Several, at least 10, 12, between tropical storms and hurricanes.
I talked to Chris a little bit earlier today. He says he loves storms. So I've seen him since this morning, early this morning,
Yep.
in and out of his house, taking pictures. What happened last time you went to the beach?
Well, I was down there checking out the surf, and I was standing about knee deep, and a wave came in, and it retreated, and my right foot sunk about 8 inches into the sand, and I had my back turned to the ocean, and another big wave came and twisted my leg, and I believe I just pulled all the ligaments in my knee. I could barely walk on it now.
Okay, so this is a difficult story for you to share with us, and we appreciate you doing that. This is why we have been telling you to stay away. He is a native. He's been through several storms. He's experienced. He's a great swimmer. He was out there in the water, but you know those waves are very strong, and had he not been a great swimmer, he could have just pulled in. And what would have happened?
Yeah, I probably would have been pulled in, yeah.
Okay, so this is why we tell you to stay away from the ocean and the water. Thank you very much for sharing your story with us. I know that's very, very brave of you to do. Hopefully it will help somebody out there and deter them from coming out and getting into the water. The beach is closed. Lifeguards have been telling us the beach is closed. Double red flags up since early this morning. Surfers have been coming out but decided not to go out into the water, and it's probably best that you don't do what these folks are doing.
And
so
I was
just
only knee deep.
And you were only knee deep, so you never know what could happen. We suggest you stay indoors, stay on your couch, hopefully watch CBS 4 and drink an extra hot chocolate for us, all right? We're live, Silva Harapeti on CBS 4.
Yeah, maybe August, but hot chocolate does
Sounds
sound
good, doesn't it?
awfully good, Silva. And maybe that guy needs to share his story with the people we see walking on the beach behind you, because, yeah, he really should, because it can be dangerous.
You know, people get curious and they want to see it for themselves, but hopefully that's not the case in Miami Beach, because I think it's a little bit rougher where Natalia Zea is right now. Let's check in with Natalia. How does it look, Natalia?
Well, I'm a little biased, but I think it's pretty rough, Elliot. We are definitely getting pounded, and actually, this is just the wind. Just a few moments ago, the rain was also pounding us, kind of messing up the lens. Excuse. Funny, this is what we've been using to try to clean off the lens, and it is sopping wet. Doesn't really help. You can see how much it blows in the breeze. This is the winds that we're dealing with out here. Take a look at the waves now. You can see there's a little bit of sun. That's a nice change. It's been very dark out here. The waves, though, are still very, very rough. Complete white water. You don't want to go anywhere near those. We've been just dealing with so much rain. But the good thing here is that all of the, there's nothing on the beach. That is the good thing. I see just there's few little tiny little tumbleweeds. I guess it's seaweed going by, but that's it, because they cleared out the trash cans. They cleared out everything else that was here. The beach chairs, of course, are gone. They even are not including the flags. You can take a look down here. At the lifeguard station in the distance, there are no flags flying there. It would be double red if weather was permitting, but they were so concerned about this weather. You know it's bad when they don't even put the flags up, because they're afraid that the flags will end up coming out and becoming projectiles and hurting somebody. And just get a look here at the ground to give you an idea. I mean, the rain is completely saturated. The sand, we've got all this liquid here now that's forming, and on the street on Ocean Drive, there are big puddles. Miami Beach, you know, is no stranger to flooding, and that's why the city has actually opened up all of its municipal parking garages for free car storage. So if you need to get your car to a safe place so that it will not be flooded, you can head over to any Miami Beach municipal garage. You can go to cbsmiami.com, and we'll put those garages, we'll list them on there for you so you know which ones. But yeah, bottom line here is stay out of this. This is a mess, very windy, very rainy, and you can see right here the beach patrol, they've been going up and down the beach, warning people not to go in the water. They've been officially off duty since noon, but they just want to make sure that nobody goes in the water, because they don't want to have to come in and save you, because technically they're not even on duty. You are on your own if you head into the water here. So that's pretty much the very latest out here. Back to you guys.
Okay, Natalia, thanks a lot. And as you're preparing for your day tomorrow, we do have some information that might help you out. We've learned that in Broward County, they're going to be resuming bus service at 4:30 a.m. But once again, courts are closed, schools are closed, but the government offices will be open, and all 4 shelters are still open in Broward, and they'll remain open throughout the night. In Miami-Dade, the buses are going to start up at 3:40 a.m. Schools are closed in Miami-Dade, and the Metro Rail Metro Mover will start at 5 a.m. p.m. tomorrow. So if you need to use that to get to work tomorrow, you don't have that excuse that it wasn't working.
It'll be working. And maybe some of those kids who don't have homework tonight can take some pictures of what's going on outside and send it to us, because we are getting quite a few pretty good viewer pictures. And CBS 4's Cynthia Demas is in the newsroom with some of them. Cynthia.
Yeah, we love the pictures. We love them from the adults. We love them from the kids. So keep them coming our way. We'd like to share some of them with you right now. It really helps us complete our coverage. So thank you to the viewers. Our first picture here is from Carol Andiff in Hollywood. You see the trees billowing in the wind. These storms really tell us which trees are indigenous to Florida and which ones are not. Of course, the palm trees are because of the way the roots grow. This picture here is from Eddie, South Point Park on South Beach. You see where Smith and Walensky is. It's not raining so hard. And then across the water there at the port, more of the rain is coming down at that particular moment. Ooh, this is on Miami Beach. Robin Kirkin, not a good situation here with a tree falling right on a vehicle. Unclear of the damage there. And this is a shot here panning from Lance Metzger in Aventura. You see the sky there and a pretty good vision of how Aventura was looking. Boy, is this ominous. This is Midtown Miami. Ivana Rodriguez was nice enough to send this in as the dark cloud just billows there. A picture here from Christine Donegan in Hollandale Beach. You see the surf is pretty rough and a few folks a little too close to the water there. Look like they are sightseeing and taking a few pictures. And hey, we know that guy. That's our own Peter Dench. It looks like he's getting interviewed by a viewer. Ryan Schraffenberger sent this in from Marathon, and he decided he would interview Peter. Not a good situation here in Weston. This tree looks like it was newly planted and it fell onto the building here. This sent in from Hector Navarrete, and it looked like it damaged the rain gutter there. A tree down here in Palmetto Bay. This is from our very own Gary Nelson with CBS 4. That is his neck of the woods there in Palmetto Bay. A tree down looks like in somebody's backyard. And from Carlos Sosa at the Port of Miami, an ominous shot at this particular moment here. The port obviously closed and cruises, they have changed their times of leaving and coming in. This picture right here from 199th Street and 47th Avenue. You can see the roof fell in. There's glass down. There's a police officer on the scene. Jose sent that one in. A tree branch on the top of a roof here in North Lauderdale. This picture sent in from Steve, one of our CBS 4 viewers. Thanks for this photo, Steve. And a bigger part of a branch right down here. This is from Jeannie Lane. I actually spoke to her on the phone. Her grandkids call her Buggy. And this tree just split right in half. She's lucky it didn't go in the door there because there are no shutters up. Check this out from Isla Mirada. Devin Teal sent this in. The trailer fell in. Actually, it looks like the dock fell in, and the trailer was on it, went in, and it dumped the boat in the water. And here's another boat photo. This is from a CBS 4 viewer who told us this sailboat actually washed up in the backyard. That's at mile marker at 96.5. Keep the photos coming, Guy. It really helps us paint the picture for everyone as to what's going on out there. It's still dangerous. Don't go outside if you don't have to. Why take the chance? And continue to send us those photos if it is safe to do so, of course. Pics at cbsmiami.com. We'll continue to bring them to you. Elliot, Shannon.
Thanks, Cynthia, for that. And our viewers, thank you for doing such a great job of keeping us posted, because you're seeing shots from all over Dade County, Broward County, Monroe County. You're seeing, people thought earlier, Broward County was not going to be as bad, but we're seeing some pretty bad damage there. Limbs coming down, all sorts of damage in Broward and Dade.
Actually, when I pulled into the parking lot here at work, I could have parked right by a tree. No. I parked a few spaces away. Good thinking, right?
Next to me, didn't you?
Yes, I looked for your car, and then I said, that guy knows exactly where to park. I'm going to park right next to Craig.
Thank you.
Hey, Craig, I got a question. This damage that we're seeing, it's sort of typical tropical storm damage, isn't it?
Exactly. In the tropical storm force winds, you see the tree damage, you see mostly light damage, and most of the structural damage that you see is because of something falling on it. So you don't lose a roof in a tropical storm. You have roof damage from a tree falling on it, and that has been the case. So this is pretty consistent. And as you mentioned, this is very consistent across the area. It's not been confined to the Keys. It's not been confined to South Dade. It's been across the metro areas, both Broward and Miami-Dade. And so a pretty widespread event here, and it's pretty much what was forecast, as if we were saying there's going to be a tropical storm. We're going to know there's a tropical storm passing. And of course, we would only have to go up about 15 to 20 miles an hour in the wind, and we would have been in that hurricane condition type of range approaching that with hurricane force gusts. So that would have been the case where the shutters would have certainly paid off. And I think there are some folks out there that probably are thinking, it wasn't bad that I put up the shutters. Maybe it was a little extra work, but I'm glad I did, because it's that level of comfort that you want to have when you're going through a tropical storm. Okay, here's what's going on right now. There is the center of Isaac, and beginning to get the appearance on radar that it's wrapping up a bit. We've got thunderstorms on the south side now. They are wrapping back into it, and some of the heaviest activity now has moved through Key West. And it looks like the center is starting to get closer and closer to Key West and maybe passing over Key West in the next hour or so. Now, the other thing you'll see, and we'll first start off in the Keys, lower Keys now under the gun with this, and another squall rotating up through the middle Keys now through Marathon and the 7 Mile Bridge. Upper Keys are quiet for the time being. In Miami-Dade, this big rain shield has kind of moved on, and now we've just got these showers. And so what we're going to see are these quick moving showers passing by from time to time. It'll rain hard for just a few minutes and then it's gone. It'll rain hard for a few minutes and then it's gone. And the thing we'll have to watch out in these is that we'll get those strong wind gusts with some of these heavier showers as they move through. I think the tornado threat is beginning to decrease. There was a time there that the wind conditions were just about ideal for rotating thunderstorms. That is starting to slowly come down and should continue to decrease through the afternoon, so certainly good news there. The flood threat, it's going to stay high for a little while longer. This is the rainfall over the last 6 hours, and this area right here down around Homestead and Richmond Heights has seen anywhere from about 3.5 to 4.5 inches of rain. So South Dade has the highest potential for any flooding going on there. North Dade, Northeast Miami-Dade, anywhere from about 2 to 3 inches of rain, pretty widespread, and pretty much the same story for Broward. About 2 to 3 inches of rain, fairly widespread. Fortunately, we haven't had one concentrated band line up across the area. Right now in Pompano Beach, Boca, this one little thunderstorm moving through. This part of a pretty good squall here, some pretty good wind gusts, another one coming up from the south. But as we broaden out here, what we can see is this bigger rain shield to the north that has started to lift out of the area now, and now we've just got these little showers that are racing in on that southeast flow. So gusty winds with those showers, but a little bit more break in the rain from time to time. So it looks like the worst is just about past us, and we're going to gradually see an improvement. I mean gradually, very, very gradually through the afternoon and the evening hours. Here is the wind gusts from some of our neighborhood network sites. Richmond Heights, there's that 3.8 inches of rain that lines up nicely with that radar observation. Lauderdale Lakes, about 2 3/4. Richmond Heights, also at the other location there at Ammons Middle School, about nearly 3 inches of rain. Pompano Beach, a wind gust earlier, this was this morning, woke a bunch of folks up, about 2 1/1200ths of an inch of rain coming from there. Most of our wind gusts lately have been gradually coming down. 2 o'clock advisory, a 60-mile-an-hour tropical storm moving to the west-northwest at 18. I think that fast motion was really kind of a blessing in disguise, because even though it got the storm here a little quicker, it's going to get it out of here more quickly, and also it didn't give it the opportunity to strengthen down here. If we were looking at a tropical storm going about 10 miles an hour, it would still be 100 miles away from us and strengthening and still heading toward us. So good news there is that the fast speed of 18 miles an hour has zipped it right along right now to the south of Key West. There's the future track. Now the folks in the northern Gulf Coast are doing what we were doing a few days ago. They are watching this very, very closely, getting that anxious feeling just like we had, and they are going to have probably a bigger deal with this system, unfortunately, than we had. We thought there was the possibility of tropical storm category 1. They're looking at strong category 1, possibly category 2. The time frame here is Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Then the only good thing maybe to come out of this is that it's going to bring some welcome rain to the southeast, where they continue to see that drought there. The significant wind impact is highest right now through the Keys and decreases as you go to the north, mainly because of those stronger winds on the north side, but that's gradually going to be coming down through the afternoon too. So most of us have been through a tropical storm. For most of us, it's just been a weak tropical storm, and for some of us, it's been a moderate to strong tropical storm, but I think everybody will at least remember Isaac, and we can kind of put it on that, oh, it's like Isaac kind of category for storms in the future.
Right, absolutely. Good rainy day just to stay inside, keep watching CBS 4, bake some cookies maybe.
Oh, I like that idea.
Hang out with the kids, have some fun. If you're just tuning in and you're saying, I want to watch golf, you can watch golf on My TV 33. Right now, we're going to stay on the air and get you the very latest on Tropical Storm Isaac. And if you're not watching us here on CBS 4, though, you can get updates on the radio by tuning in to News Radio 610 WIOD.
And we also do not advise you to go out for a walk in some parts. For example, in Hollywood Beach earlier, we saw some folks who decided to take a walk on the boardwalk. We don't advise that, and there you go, one person doing it right there. Be very careful if you do that. And also in Key West, where Vanessa Borge has been reporting for us, you can see people are taking that under advisement and just watching the storm on TV, hunkering down, just let it go by us, and then we can remember what we were doing during Tropical Storm Isaac. We'll be right back.
Times Square. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you the new Las Vegas.
Mr. Mayor, they found a girl, murdered.
Send a car to this man's ranch. His name is Lamb, Ralph Lamb. I need you to find this killer.
I'm not a cop.
You were, and a damn good one.
Vincent Savino in the flesh.
Every crew in the country is planting their flags. I'm gonna plant mine. You don't walk into my house, not unless you want me in yours.
I'm the law here, Mr. Savino, and I will decide who's breaking it.
What if you could have the integrity?
Don't mince words. How much jeopardy is the economy in?
The experience.
The trouble is that you're a con man.
The world-class original reporting of 60 Minutes every weeknight.
General, you are talking about building a country.
Well, now you can. The CBS Evening News with Scott Pelley. Weeknights, only on CBS, America's most watched network.
Welcome back to our continuing coverage of Tropical Storm Isaac. And just to bring you up to date, this is a storm that has already done quite a bit of damage in the Caribbean, specifically in Haiti. 7 people reported dead. Thousands who are already living in temporary housing in tents and other ramshackle homes. Now they have to deal with finding another place to live. Damage in the Dominican Republic, in Cuba as well. And now we're hearing that officials in the Bahamas say that they found 100 Haitian migrants who were aboard a boat that ran aground while trying to get into the Bahamas. And now they're dealing with that situation. And that also has been attributed to Tropical Storm Isaac, why that boat ran aground off the shore of the Bahamas.
I know we were sharing some images over the last few hours, or the last couple of days too, from our Miami Herald reporter who is covering Haiti, was in Port-au-Prince and showed a billboard that had been shredded. But 400,000 people in Haiti still living in tents, so I'm sure that all of the rain there caused a lot of problems for them, unfortunately. CBS 4's Tiffany Helberg is joining us now live from the southernmost part of the mainland in Florida City. So let's check in with Tiffany to see how things are looking. Tiff?
Hey, Shannon, you know, for the most part, folks in Florida City are pretty much breathing a sigh of relief so far, at least. No major damage, no major severe weather to speak about here. Look at this street here. This is about the worst of it, this little side street that has a little water that has collected, flooding. That's about the worst of the flooding that we're seeing throughout Florida City. We have drove all over Florida City, Homestead. Nothing major to report, knock on wood, so far. We've seen a lot of the folks, the majority of homes do have their shutters up already, and we did catch a few people still in the process of putting those up, hoping to protect their homes from anything that may still be in the works as Isaac barrels towards us. But again, we know that police have been scouring this area as well, and nothing major out here to report so far. We've had a lot of rain on and off. It'll go steady for like a good 10 minutes and just pour and pour and pour, and then we'll have a bout of like a 5-minute break where we have no rain and no significant winds. So we will continue to monitor the situation for you here in Florida City. Live, I'm Tiffany Helberg, CBS 4 News.
Yeah, lots of water there behind you, Tiffany. A good reminder for so many people watching, if you absolutely have to head out, that you need to be careful and don't drive through water, because you never know how deep it may be. You could be surprised and then you'd be stuck. And
another problem out there is down power lines. We already have a few thousand people who are without power in Broward County and also in Dade County. There's some pockets there, and there could be some down power lines. You know, when you're going into water like that, standing water, you're taking a chance. You certainly don't want to do that. Right now, let's check in with CBS 4's Maggie Newland, and she is braving the elements on the shore of Miami Beach. Hey,
Elliot, you're going to have to bear with me a little bit, Elliot, because the wind is picked up and we can't hear you too well out here. But I want you to take a look at what's going on here on Miami Beach. You can see people have come out to take a look at the water. The lifeguards have been going around. If you can see, there is a truck coming by in the background there. What they are doing right now is they are warning people not to get too close to the water. It is simply not safe. They don't even want people putting their feet in the water right now. It is very, very rough out here. What we're feeling is, we've been here since about 10 o'clock this morning, and we are feeling some of the worst of it in terms of wind and rain. We're feeling it about every 5 minutes, some very intense wind and then some heavy downpours. And what a lot of people are asking me, and what we might want to ask our meteorologists out there, is how long is this going to go on tonight? They want to know if we are feeling the worst of it now, or whether or not this is going to continue to get worse as the day goes on.
Seems, though, things are starting to improve a little bit on Miami Beach as we speak right now. In fact, let me go to the radar and show you what we have right now, and you'll notice that although we had some steady, heavy bands across Miami Beach earlier, they're starting to thin out. Now, we're still going to see some very quick passing showers, and in those squalls, we're likely to still see wind gusts to about 50 miles an hour or so, but they are going to be less numerous. It doesn't mean that folks should start going in the water. It doesn't mean that everybody is out of danger. It just means that things will gradually improve the rest of the afternoon and through the evening hours. But gradual is definitely the key word there.
And I think you're coming back to me. Bear with me. My hat just flew off in the wind here. The wind's really picking up. We do want to tell you, though, what the lifeguards have said right now is they have actually pulled the lifeguard flags down because they said those could become projectiles. And if you can see how much the wind has picked up, your best advice if you're here is to get off the beach.
Another good advice is tighten that hat.
Right.
I hope you find the hat, Maggie.
I know, Maggie, yeah, go look for your hat. Oh, she has a hood, so that's a good thing, and I know she can't hear us. Okay, Maggie, go look for your hat. You know, it's nice to see. I know it was a lot of work, can you imagine, for all of the employees from the various hotels along the beach to clean up all of those items out there, because of obviously they don't want them flying in the air.
We saw earlier that actually one of the awnings, I think it was by the Clevelander there on Ocean Drive, and you know, they sustained some damage. And this is not good news for the restaurateurs and other business people on the beach, because people aren't out there and they're not spending money.
Not spending the money.
Hopefully this is just several, you know, a few more hours of this, and the sun will come out and things will be a lot nicer.
And things will return to normal, yes. We're going to check in right now with Lori McQuestion with Metro Traffic, and Lori's going to give us an update on the traffic situation. And Lori, personally, Elliot and I drove in today and we both commented on how easy things were. Do you find that still to be the case right now?
Yeah, actually not too bad. Not as busy as I expected. Well, actually, no. I was actually surprised to see as many cars on the roadway as I did, but and just let me mention real quick about the hazards. A lot of people don't realize you're not supposed to actually have your hazard lights on at this weather. A lot of hazard signals I saw on the roadway on the way in, and that's technically illegal. We want to kind of discourage the use of that. It just causes confusion more than anything. But let's cut right to the chase here in Miami-Dade. A live shot at 95 coming out of the Golden Glades, looking southbound, and yeah, it looks pretty quiet. Not too bad as far as traffic heaviness goes. We do have a lot of accidents, a lot of activity. Southbound 95 near Northwest 95th Street for starters, and we've got problems on the Dolphin. Let's start with westbound near Galloway. It looks like the exit ramp is blocked there due to a crash, and we've got problems on the Turnpike. Now, northbound at Southwest 12th Avenue, that ramp is closed also. Some wires are down there. Traffic lights are out. It is a mess. Elsewhere, it looks like we've got something on the Turnpike now. Southbound, just before US 1, a car is blocking the roadway there. We're going to move over into Broward County here because it's getting busy in Broward as well. Starting with I-95, an injury accident still wrapping up southbound near State Road 84. We've got a hit-and-run crash reported southbound at Hallandale Beach Boulevard. 595 westbound is going to slow you down a little bit between University of Pine Island there due to a crash that's blocking a left lane. And we've got some activity, looks like Broward Boulevard trying to get on 95 northbound. You'll find debris in the road, as you will probably pretty much all over due to the storm conditions, obviously. So please drive safely. If you don't have to venture out, don't. I'm Lori McQuestion with your CBS 4 traffic update.
Yeah, Lori, we did see a lot of debris on the road. And one quick question, so as people are preparing for tomorrow, heading out to work, what are you anticipating for drivers? I know the good news is that the buses won't be on the road tomorrow.
Yes, that is correct. And hopefully we'll hope to have a better picture in the morning, but definitely keep it tuned here to CBS 4, and we'll be giving you regular traffic updates as well. And you can tune into Vanessa Borges as well, and we'll keep you updated on all the latest. Just be careful and make sure you buckle up, watch your speed.
That's exactly right. Lori, thank you very much for that live update. And yeah, I'm surprised to see as many cars as there are out there. Things are moving, and hopefully people are driving at a safe speed. And they know what to do also if a traffic light is out, and what to do with those intersections of the flashing red lights. You treat it as if it were a four-way stop, and you stop and let the one person go at a time and do it in a safe manner.
And they might not even be flashing. The lights might just be totally out. And so you should just proceed with caution, and you're better off just slowing down and stopping and making sure that it's clear to go.
The absolute best thing to do is just stay indoors for a few more hours as we hunker down and wait for the storm to go by. Right now, let's check in with CBS 4's Carrie Codd, who's in Key West, and it's looking kind of bright out there. Carrie, is it?
Actually, we're getting some pretty strong weather right now. We have had pretty steady rain for the last hour and a half or so, but just within the last 10 minutes or so, it's picked up a little bit. Rainfall, the wind's kicked up a little bit, and visibility has gotten nearly non-existent. You can see the trees blowing. You can see the pretty good shot there, that American flag. If our photographer Doug Johnson can show that, that flag is really whipping in the wind right here. We're along the area where most folks come in the evening time to watch the beautiful, picturesque sunset here along Key West. This is the area, Mallory Square. You can see right across from us here is a private island called Sunset Key. Just a couple of minutes ago, you could barely even make out that island here because visibility was so low. But it's just incredibly choppy right now on the water. Obviously, you can see just the waves rippling through here. A lot of wind, a lot of rain, and believe it or not, we are seeing quite a few people out here. Actually, right about to come into view are some happy bikers who are out enjoying the afternoon. And of course, Keys officials want us to stress to people that whether you're visiting the Keys or whether you live here, you really need to stay indoors for your safety and, of course, the safety of others. I did talk to a couple of police officers who were just driving around this area, checking things out a few minutes ago. They said all they're hearing is a lot of wind and rain. So far, no major problems here on the island. And basically, that's pretty much the story here. As we were driving to this location a short time ago, we saw a few dozen people standing outside of Sloppy Joe's, a very popular bar where we did a little reporting from last night. The crowd was, very thinned out last night. Obviously, a few people just standing outside watching the rainfall today. Lots of stores and businesses decided that they were going to shut down for today, some even for tomorrow, because of what you're witnessing right now, because of this rain and wind. Obviously, the lifelong residents, the longtime residents here in the Keys, this is just an inconvenience. This is a storm. They do decide to shutter up, to stay indoors, to make sure that, if projectiles get loose, it doesn't crash through a window or it doesn't, damage a rooftop or something like that. They take the necessary precautions, obviously, but they don't panic. We did hear earlier today of some folks who needed rescuing out on the water. In one instance, even, we heard about a kayaker who might have gotten lost out on the water and had to be rescued. So again, just another example of why people need to stay on dry land, stay indoors until this thing blows over. Back to you guys in the studio.
You're absolutely right. You certainly would not want to be out in that water on a kayak, of all things. Let's hope they find that person. That person is okay.
Yeah, it's different to see Mallory Square, which is an area usually packed with tourists, packed with performers. Everyone gathers there to watch the sunset in Key West, and looks pretty empty except for Carrie Codd there.
Yeah, no sunset pictures in there tonight.
Yeah, unfortunately not.
That's not the situation.
Right now we're going to turn things over to CBS 4 meteorologist Jeff Baradelli for another look at what Isaac is doing. And this is still a tropical storm, but this is going to turn into a hurricane. Could be a 2 or 3 possibly, not for us, but for our friends up to the north.
It is very possible, and lucky for us, it hasn't yet intensified. It still doesn't have that organized core. We expect it to get that core once it gets completely away from land and out over the open waters of the Gulf of Mexico, where we have some very, very hot water. I mean, during the summertime, I used to live in Tampa, and I can tell you during the summertime, the average water temperature is around 88 to 90 degrees during the daytime because the water is somewhat shallow close to the shore. So there's a lot of very hot water to work with, and as the system moves through the Gulf of Mexico into the deeper water as well, we're likely to see some strengthening to a Cat 2 and maybe even a Cat 3 as it impacts the northern part of the Gulf of Mexico coast. So first things first, I want to talk about where the system is right now. It's located basically to the south now of Key West. And I think that the center of the storm, and it really doesn't have an eye, but the center of the storm should pass probably about 30 miles to the south of Key West. What you'll notice is, and what Carrie was showing us, very heavy rain right around the Saddle Bunch Keys extending down into Key West. And you can see a little boundary is kind of set up shop there, at least for now. And so just on the northern end of the island, believe it or not, that's where the heaviest rain is. But if you go just south of that, you can see there's kind of an empty void right here just to the south. And so what's going to be happening is conditions should be getting somewhat better gradually, pretty much all across our area over the next, let's say, few hours or so. But again, the key word to this is that it's all going to be very gradual. I want to take you for more of a radar tour of some other parts of the area right now. And the heaviest rain that we see in Broward County right now is moving through places like Fort Lauderdale. That extends southwest to Pembroke Pines and also Silver Lakes. And so even though the bands are becoming less numerous, in any of these bands, we will see some wind gusts to about 50 miles an hour or so. As we head down into Miami-Dade, again, it's just quick moving showers. And in these squalls, every once in a while, we see those wind gusts. Down into southern parts of Miami-Dade, we have seen some very heavy rain. Rainfall totals in general around 3 to 4 inches of rain. But notice here, if you look closely enough, you can see that there have been some 4, 5, 6-inch totals. So if there's going to be some street flooding, it's certainly going to be in the southern part of Miami-Dade. But of course, the good news here is the rain is not solid. It's not a solid shield of heavy rain anymore. And as we zoom the radar out just a bit more, you'll notice it's kind of breaking up over the Atlantic. And actually, the heaviest rain is now shifting north into Palm Beach County. So for us, things will gradually improve over the next few hours. But again, it's going to take some time because as this system, guys, moves out into the Gulf of Mexico, it is going to be intensifying a little bit and probably also expanding a little bit. And so even though it's moving away, it's still sending rain bands our way. So even when you wake up tomorrow morning, there'll be some quick passing showers and squalls and still some wind gusts to 45 or 50 miles an hour.
Hey, Jeff, right now we're experiencing the top part of the storm. What can we expect from the bottom part of those bands that come from the bottom part of the eye of the storm?
Well, I want to show you the radar. I'll go right to the radar and show you what's happening, and we'll zoom down to the Keys. What you'll notice is there really isn't that much going on the southern end of the storm, which is why I didn't mention it. Most of the convection's on the north and western side, and in fact, just to the west of Key West, we have sustained winds over the ocean of 50 miles an hour. So obviously, the winds are stronger over the ocean because there's less friction. On the eastern side of the system, right around the Marathon area, we do have another band coming in, but it's nowhere near as strong. I'm going to switch that radar once again. You can see the eastern part of the storm does have some squalls, but it's not as solid, not as strong. And the southern side still has a lot of dry air. So in answer to your question, Elliot, you know, unless it intensifies quickly over the next couple of hours, which is not likely because it still hasn't formed that consolidated core, it looks as though it probably isn't going to be that bad on the south and eastern side.
That's good news for us.
Yeah, certainly is. Yeah. Jeff Berardelli, thanks a lot. We'll be checking back in with our team of meteorologists shortly, but we do want to let you know that at any time, if you want to get some additional information, you can always head over to cbsmiami.com/tropics. Tons of stuff there, including the latest advisories, printable hurricane guides, and also a list of cancellations or announcements. It's a long one because in addition to all the schools and everything, the zoo was closed today, Miami Aquarium was closed, Jungle Island, not a lot to do with the kids today. You can also check out our interactive tropical tracker too by going online. You can go anywhere on the map of this track and you can determine how far away the storm will be. You can go to cbsmiami.com/tropics for all of that.
And we just had a look at the radar with Jeff Berardelli. Here's a look at the video out of Marathon. These are live pictures as the surf whips up off the coast of Marathon in the Florida Keys and a little bit further south. Let's get a look at what's happening in Key West, where our reporters have been checking in with us. We just heard from Carrie Codd, who was over at Mallory Square, and this is what it looks like in that area. Vanessa Borge also reporting from there. No folks lining up for a beautiful sunset and looking at Sunset Island there off of Key West. Today is just the day to stay inside and wait out the storm, let it pass us, and then other parts of South Florida will have to deal with it. The seagrass whipping up there off of Miami Beach as well. Luckily, people are not venturing outside and just waiting for the storm to pass us. We'll be right back.
The CBS 4 News Magazine, now being mailed to even more homes. It's hard-hitting local journalism right at your fingertips, all from South Florida's most trusted news source. For more information, call 305-477-1699.
The Miracle League gives children with special needs the chance to step up to the plate and play ball. I'm Neighbors for Neighbors Nicole Maristani. Now, the league is planning to create miracles right here in Miami.
There are 30,000 special needs children in our community, and there's not one single baseball field specifically dedicated for these special needs children.
It's a cause close to the hearts of Miami Marlins players Keith Bell and John Buck.
I have a 10-year-old little girl that has Down syndrome and has been playing for the past 5 years.
It's very rewarding as a family and as a parent as well.
The team's foundation joined in support of these players, donating funds to build a field.
The Miracle League's fields themselves allows the wheelchairs, the walkers to glide easily along the field.
But it's more than just creating a safe place to play. It's about bringing the community together.
You can participate as a player, you can participate as a baseball buddy, as a sponsor, at any level.
For more information, give us a call or visit us on the web.
When it comes to the news of the nation and the world, you can tune in to the CBS Evening News. When it comes to severe weather, no one knows it better than CBS 4 Chief Meteorologist David Bernard, and we're glad to be on the same team.
From Miami-Dade, Broward, and the Keys, this is South Florida's CBS 4 News.
Right now, live satellite pictures of Tropical Storm Isaac as it moves across South Florida.
We have extensive live team coverage of Tropical Storm Isaac for you.
Hello again, and thanks for joining us. I'm Elliot Rodriguez.
And I'm Shannon Horry. We've been with you all day since early this morning with everything you need to know about the storm to help stay safe.
Right now, let's get it started with our Chief Meteorologist, David Bernard. And David, what can you tell us?
Well, the good news, Elliot, is that we're slowly beginning to see the storm pull away. I had a window of 6 o'clock this evening when I thought we'd really see things back down, but of course the storms are moving pretty quickly, so things are progressing along maybe a little bit faster than we thought, and that's some good news. And again, our coverage here at CBS 4 is going to be commensurate with the weather, and since the weather's backing down, we're eventually going to be going to a period of just a little bit less coverage. But we need to stay on this at least for the next hour, especially because we've got some strong winds still moving through the Keys. Now let's look at the big picture here. The center of Isaac, again, located near or just to the south of Key West. Notice all the breaks that we're starting to see here over the Atlantic. That's good. That whole solid core that came through earlier, that is now pivoted across the Everglades and over toward the west coast. So the breaks we're seeing here, I think those are going to be permanent. I do think there's still the threat of isolated tornadoes, but as the circulation pulls further and further away from us, that will become less likely as we go in toward the evening hours. I want to take you to Broward County right now because we do have some intense rain bands still rotating through from Oakland Park and Wilton Manors through Fort Lauderdale, Lauderhill, and also Davie. That extends into Pembroke Pines and Silver Lakes and Southwest Ranches. Those are moving up to the northwest, so more rain coming for Sunrise, Weston. Boom, there's the next scan. There you go, just as I said it, Sunrise, Weston, Tamarack, Coral Springs, and Parkland. You're going to see that band coming through in the next couple of minutes. In Miami-Dade right now, we still have these feeder bands coming in from the south and east. And notice how we're starting to see these little individual cells, not the real big wide bands we saw before. These are the ones that still could produce funnel clouds or maybe some isolated tornadoes, so we're going to remain vigilant about that again over the next few hours. But overall, I am very glad to say that the conditions are slowly improving across South Florida as Isaac begins to pull away. And so we go further out into the afternoon and the evening, guys. Once we get into our news time, especially around 6:30, that'll be our full local newscast here on CBS 4. We're going to start moving the story forward a little because the next chapter on Isaac is going to be written, and it's forecasted to be close to a major hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico. We're getting a lot of calls and emails in here to the Storm Center. People concerned about the Florida Panhandle. Obviously, the New Orleans area is under threat from this, and there may be hurricane warnings issued for these areas with the 5 o'clock advisory that's going to be coming up in a couple of hours. So the South Florida story is winding down, but not the story of this storm for sure.
I know that you study so many storms, and of course we all think of Hurricane Katrina in 2005 and the horrible damage that it did to the New Orleans area. Looking at this one, how do you compare that to Katrina?
Well, you know, you can never compare a storm to Katrina, and you can't compare a storm to Hurricane Andrew. Those are ones for the history books are the worst of the worst. Katrina with one of the lowest pressures ever observed of a tropical cyclone in the Atlantic Basin. That same year, Wilma broke the Katrina record and then broke the Rita record. All three of those storms directly impacted South Florida. Now, Rita is interesting because when Rita was moving almost exactly on this same path through the Florida Straits, it really had not strengthened much. It wasn't very strong. And as soon as Rita moved just west of Key West over here near the Dry Tortugas, about where Isaac is heading now, that storm literally exploded and developed into the Category 5 monster it did. And then eventually Rita again progressed up into the upper Texas coast and southwest Louisiana. So while we can't make any direct comparison to those historical storms with Isaac right now, it is interesting to note that there's a long history of storms in the Florida Straits and the Keys that have strengthened very rapidly. Fortunately, this one didn't. One of the most famous ones, guys, is the 1935 Labor Day hurricane in the Florida Keys. And again, that's a storm that went from a tropical storm to a Category 5 in about 36 hours. That's a very extreme example, but Isaac's in a spot now in the Southeast Gulf where there's a long history of these storms really taking off into major ones, and that's not happening right now, but obviously a lot of people are going to be watching for that possibility.
Yeah, they certainly can change. They can do it quickly, and thank you, David. Even though it looks like we're dodging a bullet here in South Florida, this certainly has the potential of becoming a bigger storm and threatening points beyond, especially you look at the Gulf area, Pensacola, New Orleans, and Mobile. You know, they've had to deal with hurricanes before, and hopefully this will not be a bad one for them.
We'll still be talking about Isaac, certainly, for the next few days, that's for sure. CBS 4's Maggie Newland is joining us now live once again from Miami Beach. And Maggie, Elliot and I have a very big question for you. Did you find your, you did find your hat?
I did.
Oh, thank goodness. Okay, good.
I found my hat.
It flew off.
I have learned quickly if you turn the other direction that I'm standing now, you lose the hat. So that's just going to happen. Right now, we're not dealing with rain, which is a good thing, but we are dealing with some pretty intense wind. And it's not affecting me too much, but my photographer is definitely feeling the effects of the sand. If you take a look down here, now the sand is pretty wet if you look at it. It's pretty wet sand. So you have to understand that the wind has to be pretty strong to be blowing that sand, but it is doing it, and it's blowing it pretty hard into our faces. So that is something that people down here are dealing with. If you take a look, you can see some people just coming back from the water. Just a few minutes ago, they were actually putting their toes into the water. That is not a good idea. And one question I have for David Bernard is, I know we're talking about the storm getting better, maybe being on the upside of things, but how dangerous is the water still out there? What advice do you have to people who say things are looking better, it's time to go to the water?
It's not time to go to the water, and it may not be time to go to the water tomorrow. But, you know, beyond that, things are going to get better. But, boy, right now, it's an understatement to say that conditions are dangerous out there. I mean, we've got, you know, gigantic waves and breakers and rip currents and you name it. So no water. And I'm sure the beach rescue people are going to be repeating the same as I think you were reporting.
That's for sure. In fact, they've been coming by with trucks urging people to get out of the water. Now, we do want to make one mention. In Miami Beach, we're not only dealing with this storm, they're dealing with a water main break over on Belle Isle. We are told that water service should be restored by 6 o'clock tonight. One other note, if you park your car on Miami Beach, the threat of flooding may not be over, so they are opening those municipal garages for free. If you need to park your car, you can park it in a city garage so you don't have to worry about flooding. And as you can see, the wind is certainly picking up where we are here. Shannon and Elliot.
Well, Maggie, I'm sure that people are not sitting outside along Ocean Drive enjoying an early afternoon cocktail right now, but are people still inside? The restaurants are still open, right, on the beach?
Most of the restaurants are still open. Their patios are not open, but, you know, honestly, except for right down here by the water, it's not a big crowd out today. Most people are heeding the advice to stay indoors. Just a few coming to look at the water, and again, we hope they are staying safe and staying out of the water today.
Certainly, we do hope so, Maggie. Yeah. Thank you so much. And they stick around here. For those people who are visiting from out of town who might be watching right now, I think you'll be much happier with the weather tomorrow, so we hope you have lots of fun.
Yeah, that's exactly how it should be. People staying indoors and just riding out the storm. It doesn't look like we have much more to go. Let's go check in right now with CBS 4's Carrie Codd, who's at Mallory Square in Key West. And Carrie, a little while ago, we did see a couple of people venturing out, but luckily not that many.
That's right, and I can make David Bernard very happy. We haven't seen anybody in the water out here since we've been here for the last hour or so. And when we were on the air maybe about, I don't know, 20 minutes or so ago, you couldn't even see that private island. You could barely see it. Now, through the lens of our photographer, Doug Johnson, you can definitely see that island. So things have brightened up a little bit. The rains are still coming down, but not what they were when we were on the air about 20 minutes or so ago. We do have some people that still want to come out and take photos, just take stock of what's happening. Obviously, this is a popular gathering spot. Even a member of the Coast Guard who I ran into a couple of minutes ago, he was telling me that this is the first hurricane that he's experienced here in Florida, and he wanted to come out, get some photos, and just sort of see what all the hubbub was about. I also just got off the phone with the county administrator, Roman Gastesi from Monroe County. I wanted to check in with him today and just see what he's hearing as far as whether there have been any types of incidents or issues or people are pretty much behaving themselves. He told me that that seems to be the case. He said right now everything appears to be very quiet, which is a word that a lot of times folks don't like to use. They don't want to jinx anything, but at this point, what he's hearing is that folks are safe in the shelters. There's about 115 people at the 4 shelters throughout the Keys and an additional 20 people at a special needs shelter that we told you about yesterday here in Key West. He said all those people are locked down, safe, dry, taken in the storm and just waiting for it to pass through. So that's pretty much the story here in Key West. Still expecting some more bad weather, of course, but we're ready for it. Back to you guys.
All right, Carrie, thanks. And driving around in the residential parts of Key West, did you notice that most of the homes had shutters up, or did most people just try to see how they would do without them?
That's a good question. Yesterday we saw a lot of homes, you know, the older homes had the clapboard shutters closed, of course. I did see maybe about 10 to 20% of the homes that had some sort of shuttering on them, some stage of shuttering. I should mention that as we were driving to this area here, Mallory Square, on Duval and Front Street, we did see a little bit of standing water on the road. Nothing really to speak of, but enough that you know, that you noticed it. And there were folks who were riding their bikes and making some nice puddles and things like that, of course. And we should mention, as always, that the county officials do want folks, and the city officials want folks to stay indoors during the storm. But of course, there are going to be some people that were out. So we did see some water on the roads, and I'm assured that city and county workers are ready to get out there and clean that stuff up as soon as the worst of the storm passes through, and those pump stations are ready to go. They don't want another Wilma here, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And I noticed from your Facebook page that they're not going to have the ghost tours in Key West.
Is that right?
You took a picture of a sign that they had that said, no tours.
Oh. Well, one of the things we learned, thanks for that, Carrie, by the way, from Key West, that we learned from his reporting, is that the city crews in Key West prepared before the storm by clearing out all those storm drains and making sure that the water would drain out. And great job. Great job to those city workers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tiffany Helberg is joining us now live from Florida City. This is the southernmost part of the mainland, the southern part of Miami-Dade County, and it's still raining there, Tiffany, right now.
That's a little bit here. It wasn't raining this hard just a few moments ago, and now we're getting quite a downpour here. Just take a look at where I'm standing.
Sorry about that sound.
Wow.
Okay. I think we're trying to reestablish her signal.
That just shows how these bands are, because we saw Carrie Codd didn't have a lot of rain there, but then Tiffany Helberg getting rain. It'll stop for a little while as another band goes through. You know, that's what we tell people, you know, just wait it out, because until all these bands get out of our area, we're going to have rain off and on. We're going to have wind off and on, and sometimes the wind in some cases has whipped up to 60 miles an hour.
And it has been rough at times,
Yeah.
but David Bernard did show us on the Doppler that it appears that this may be the last part of the bands moving through, especially Miami-Dade and Broward counties, so things could be improving for us. We're going to check in right now with Antonio Mora, who's joining us from the newsroom, and you have some videos from some viewers that you can share.
I do, Shannon, and Elliot's absolutely right. These bands are really what makes the difference, and there are these gaps. We're just seeing it right here in the newsroom. Doral, last time I was on, was going crazy with the wind and the rain, and now it's pretty calm. And we'll show you now some videos from viewers around the area that'll show exactly what happened in their areas at different times. This is from Brenda Seinberg in Coral Ridge. That's near Fort Lauderdale. We believe this is the Intercoastal, and as you can see, just sheets of rain and trees bending. This was probably taken within the last couple of hours, so as you can see, some pretty serious weather there. Key Biscayne has also gotten some pretty rough weather. Let's switch over to that video. This was taken by Michael Garrity, and as you can see, some serious winds there on Key Biscayne. And if I'm quiet, you might be able to hear the wind. The wind was very loud there. Not sure if you can hear it, but it was, when I looked at this in our edit bay, it was very, very loud how strong that wind was blowing. And also in Hollywood, we've seen Silva Harapetian on the beach. This is further inland, and you can see just the sheets of rain, the gusts just blowing the water over that body of water there. You can hear it there, too. So a lot of bad weather all over our area, and we really appreciate our viewers who have been nice enough to take the time and send us all these pictures to give us an even broader picture of what's going on throughout South Florida. And a reminder, if you see the effects of Tropical Storm Isaac, please take pictures of it, send it to us, send us your videos, your still pictures. Our email is pics@cbsmiami.com, and you could see your image right here on CBS 4. Shannon, Elliott.
Antonio, thanks a lot. And of course, you are watching extended coverage of Tropical Storm Isaac. We've been with you on air since early this morning because we want to make sure you get all of the information that you and your family need so that you can stay safe. But if you want to watch golf, go to MyTV33.
And if you want to see what the storm is doing, stay right here because there's a live picture from Miami Beach where you can see the winds have whipped up, and we've had our reporters out there, Natalia Zaya, telling us that there aren't many people on the beach. Also, Maggie Newland has been reporting from out there, and that's good to see that people are indoors. The people that are going out are in safe locations inside and waiting for the last of Tropical Storm Isaac to pass through our area, but certainly other parts of Florida and the Gulf states will have to deal with this storm. We'll be right back.
President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Can you guarantee as president those checks will go out on August the 3rd?
I cannot guarantee if we haven't resolved this issue.
George Zimmerman charged with second-degree murder for shooting and killing Trayvon Martin.
Zimmerman claims the shooting was justified.
Then things are going great. That's incoming.
We got a kid out there. He just got shot in the head during a battle. Kid
and he survived?
He survived, and he fought for 3 more hours.
Housing prices are stable. Unemployment rate is down.
But
you saw a record you can run on.
The bottom line is that all of those had nowhere to go but up.
A major ruling on health care reform.
New information about the sex abuse scandal at Penn State.
There'll be much more about this on your local news on this CBS station, and we'll have a full wrap-up here on the CBS Evening News tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you the new Las Vegas.
Warrant. Get out of my casino.
I'm the law here. I will decide who's breaking it.
Welcome back to our live continuing coverage. We are riding out Tropical Storm Isaac with you, and fortunately we do see a light at the end of the tunnel as the whipping winds, the bands make it through South Florida, and we expect the weather to get better later on today, but we're not there yet.
But just a short time ago, we were speaking live with CBS 4's Tiffany Helberg, who is in Florida City, and she had one of those bands come through, and we unfortunately lost her signal, but she's back. So tell us what's going on in Florida City, Tiff.
We're back. Apparently the rain was too much for our microphone. We just had a drenching a few moments ago. Now it's not raining at all. It comes in waves through here. Just take a look. You see this little roadway here is flooded. That's about the worst of it here in Florida City. We've driven all over the place as our emergency crews checking for problems, and so far so good. No major flooding to report, no major damage from wind. It hasn't been that significantly windy out here in the Florida City Homestead area, but we do know that there are pockets pockets of people without power, and that Florida Power and Light is working diligently to restore power to those folks. That's going to happen, but at this point, that is simply minor. I was speaking to a police officer here in Florida City who tells me that there is an area of Florida City that is prone to flooding, but apparently they haven't had any issues this time around. They believe they can contribute that because about a year ago they had changed the storm drainage system. That appears to be helping. So far so good here. Overall, it's basically a ghost town here. People seem to be heeding the warning, not heading out. There are a few people now starting to venture out as they've seen it hasn't been that significantly bad, but you know, it's not over till it's over, so we're still urging people to stay indoors until we give them the green light. That's the very latest. We're live in Florida City. Tiffany Helberg, CBS 4 News.
Good advice, Tiffany. Let's talk a little bit about the traffic. You've been out and about. Are you close to US 1? By any chance, is that US 1 behind you? And what's the traffic look like?
Traffic is pretty good here, you know, as I mentioned, not a lot of people out, and that's helping a lot. And the weather hasn't been that significantly bad. We've had a few drenching downpours, but beyond that, it's pretty good. I mean, take a look. You can see just a few cars out there. There's a police officer here. We've seen them steadily patrolling the area, looking for any problems. No problems as of yet.
All right, good to see, because we saw a little while ago during her live shot how it could change
absolutely
from one moment to the next.
And we do have some information for you if you need to figure out what you're going to do tomorrow for work. If you use the bus service in Broward County, we know that the bus service will resume at 4:30 tomorrow morning, and in Miami-Dade, the buses are going to resume at 3:40. Metro Rail, Metro Mover, that'll get going at 5 a.m. So if you take those to get to work, you'll be good to go.
And right now I'm being told that we're going to go to CBS 4's Summer Knowles, who is live in Hollywood for us. What's going on? Oh,
Hi,
you're
Summer.
getting some of the weather now, I see, Summer.
Yes, well, you know, things are actually starting to die down out here, believe it or not. The best evidence of that, the sky behind me, it's a lot lighter. Things are really starting to open up. Very different from what we saw even just an hour ago. Now, the rain has stopped, but you can see we're still getting some pretty good wind gusts out here, evident by the waves. Very rough and choppy, but maybe about an hour ago we saw waves of about 6 feet, believe it or not. Now you can see there are people out here, some people over there on the beach kind of sitting down close to the water. Further up you see people walking in the water, which officials have been asking people not to do, but so far we haven't had any problems. Now we're in front of one of the bar and grills, and residents out here, they've been singing and just kind of having a good time. To talk with us about the atmosphere, Mr. Conrad St. Jean, tell me, kind of describe the atmosphere out here. It doesn't seem that people are concerned at all.
No, all the locals are pretty much after this morning and realizing how light it was going to be. It was going to turn into a hurricane. We weren't going to get hit. They're just trying to enjoy the time instead of being cooped up in the house and just enjoying it.
Do you think it has anything to do with the fact that many of you went through Andrew, and in comparison, this is not?
The locals can definitely tell the difference between a real storm and this. So like I said, they're just enjoying it. Seeing you guys out here, knowing that this place is open, they're just coming out here and enjoying themselves.
All right, thank you. And you can hear the crowd kind of going wild. They're watching CBS 4 right now and getting really excited about that. But again, right now, yep, it's party time over here for sure. But again, on a more serious note, things are starting to really lighten up here. This is my first tropical storm, so I bought this thing right here. I want to show you. I've kind of been keeping my eyes glued to it. Right now, we're seeing like a sustained wind of about 12 to 16 miles per hour. But you know, we do still get wind gusts of about 30, sometimes 35 miles per hour. Pretty impressive for me, but maybe an hour ago, you could barely walk. I mean, you had to walk backwards and kind of sit down like you're in a chair to get anywhere out here. So it's been quite an experience, but again, no one's hurt. People are really just out here having fun. We'll continue to keep you posted on how things are going on here. Live in Hollywood, Summer Knowles, CBS 4 News.
Okay, Summer, it's not too bad out there, and you know, you do have to understand what folks are saying, that they've been cooped up inside. They do get cabin fever, and some people want to come out. It's not that bad right now, but it really is not a great idea. It's a good idea just to stay in a little bit longer until you get the all clear.
Absolutely. Although I think maybe they're offering some Isaac specials at that location where Summer was.
And they look like they're having a good time.
Right. We're going to check in right now with CBS 4's chief meteorologist once again, David Bernard. He's going to check in with the Hurricane Center because while Tropical Storm Isaac may have been not as bad for us. We're really watching what it's going to do as it develops in the Gulf, David.
Yeah, we're kind of starting to pivot now and look toward Isaac in the Gulf of Mexico and what those implications could be. With Dr. Rick Knabb, we're going to start, and I'd like to start first addressing with you the local conditions here in South Florida, and we've been watching the storm progressing to the west all afternoon long. I'm glad to say we're starting to see a lot of those breaks out to the east, that solid kind of core, if you will. The northern semicircle of the center of Isaac is now bypasses into the Everglades and over to the west coast. So let's give kind of a broad overview of what to expect in South Florida, let's say over the next 6 hours.
Sure. Now, we've generally been on the northern, windier, wetter side of the storm overall, but as you mentioned, that still is pretty devoid of really solid bands off to our east. So as the bands that are in the Keys right now, just north and northeast of the center, move along with the center itself, things will get a lot better as this clearer area moves in. And then up in the peninsula, we still have some bands coming in, and it's still pretty windy, especially when the gustiest conditions come in with those individual bands. The rain and the wind tend to come together because those bands bring down that energy from aloft. But those bands are spottier farther off into the northwestern and central Bahamas. So it will generally get better tonight and into tomorrow especially. But we're still going to be in this moist southerly flow even after the circulation center gets out in here. So it's not going to be wonderful weather, but it won't be a washout all the time. But the worst thing you can do, especially today when we still have a lot of bands around, is to get out on the roads. That's the place where you get into the flooding and get into car accidents. Not the greatest day on the road.
Right, we're just telling everybody kind of just to chill out and relax just a little bit. And as you said, we're heading toward much improved weather. All right, I did see a vortex report that came in from reconnaissance aircraft, 992 millibars. So that's really our first drop that we've seen in the last 12 hours. Too early to say it's a trend, but if it is, it's heading toward what your forecast is calling for.
Yeah, I'm not sure what kind of trend it means for the next several hours, but I think in the next day or two, we are anticipating strengthening. And it's struggled to get an inner core together. Even today, it's been struggling to do that. But it has another 2.5 days before it might make final landfall with its center crossing the northern Gulf Coast. Warm water, weak wind shear. We're forecasting a hurricane over the Gulf. Could be at a Category 2, and it's possible a little bit stronger or weaker than that. But it's today and tomorrow that people have to prepare for it. We might have to put up a warning for the northern Gulf Coast this afternoon or evening.
And you know, I'm very familiar with that part of the country. I spent a lot of time there before I was in Miami, in the New Orleans area. Let's look at that cone back there. That track across the Gulf, especially if it goes to the western side of that cone, it'll really be going across the warm waters. I think a track further east might argue toward a lower intensity like you were saying. But, you know, where the cone is now, let's talk about if it continues more on a west-northwest approach, that east-southeast movement to the west-northwest into southeast Louisiana, that's definitely an approach we don't want to see for that part of the country.
No, if you're in the southeast Louisiana area, you don't like a couple of the models that are suggesting that one possible scenario is a motion to the northwest here with a little bit of a bend to the left that would potentially bring the strongest winds and storm surge into southeastern Louisiana. But we have other very reliable models that are very different than that, and no reason to believe which one is going to be correct more than the other right now, that take it on the right side of the cone and some in between. So we're going to have to put up a warning, I think, for a pretty large area. So that means a lot of people are going to have to prepare today and tomorrow and do what their emergency managers tell them to do, and we won't know exactly who's going to get the worst impacts until much sooner, but we have to take action ahead of time.
That's right. There's just not a lot of time. Well, Dr. Rick Knabb, I know you are going into hyper-vigilant mode now. You already have been, and it's going to stay that way. Let's hope Isaac doesn't get too out of control, but boy, the hurricane history landscape is littered with bad ones coming out of the Florida Straits and headed into the Gulf. Thanks again, and thanks for all your help today and the rest of your staff for getting us through Tropical Storm Isaac. Hope we don't see you again this season, but if we do, you'll do it the right way, and we'll be there with you. Thanks again, Dr. Rick Knabb, the new director of the National Hurricane Center. Boy, so glad to see him back on board here at the National Hurricane Center. He's been in Miami for a long time, doing a great job, guys. We're really lucky to have him. The whole country is, but especially here in South Florida because he knows our area so well.
David, thank you so much. And Rick Knapp has been a very busy guy today because obviously he's been tracking the storm, keeping all of you up to date by doing those live interviews. But he also updated President Barack Obama today along with FEMA Administrator Craig Fugate because, of course, the president needs to stay on top of Tropical Storm Isaac and see what it's going to do. But I'm reading here from the wires, and the White House said that FEMA has already sent teams to Florida and Louisiana where possibly Hurricane Isaac could make landfall, as well as Alabama, Mississippi, and other states that could be impacted. And
we know that they suspended the first couple of days there at the convention. Governor Rick Scott was supposed to speak on Monday, and he suspended his activities at the convention for Monday and Tuesday, and hopefully they'll be able to get things going there. But the concern is that a lot of people that are coming down to Tampa are people from outside the state of Florida who are not familiar with how to deal with tropical storms and hurricanes. And again, this storm is going to get stronger, but right now we're seeing the damage that a tropical storm can do. And Cynthia Demas is in the newsroom with some pictures that our viewers have taken. Pretty good pictures too, Cynthia.
Yeah, they really, you know, picture is worth 1,000 words. So these tell some pretty clear stories here. We've all been through this before, and our viewers have been nice enough to go outside when it was safe, of course, to go ahead and snap some photos. So we're going to start with this first one. Some trees down here. This is from Ali Faraje in Palmetto Bay. We're seeing a lot of trees down in Palmetto Bay, Richmond Heights, Cutler Bay, but there's a lot of foliage there, so that makes sense. These folks here swimming in the surf, not a smart idea. This is in Deerfield Beach. Nail Craig shot this for us. And of course, you are advised to not do this. A picture here from Star Island. It's clear, and then you see downtown Miami in the back where it is a lot darker there. Ryan Weber sent this photo in for us. They were seeing a lot of that kind of split personality picture. Look at these waves here under Deerfield Beach. This is in Deerfield Beach Pier. Aaron Ryan snapping this photos as the waves hit the pilings right there. And here from Kristen Lloyd in Lauderhill by the sea, this pier as well, people surfing there. You know, it is a surfer's paradise when this happens, but also got to be careful, and it's really not advised to do that. Ray Colvey in Pembroke Pines sent this out here. I don't know if you can make this out so much. It's street lights billowing here, and that was on Johnson Street. And hi, this is Gigi the Chihuahua, who had to get ready for the storm. Yeah, we got to lighten it up a little bit here with Gigi the Chihuahua from Miami Shores. Gigi's owner sent that one in. And then this backyard awning came crashing down. You know, these things are not cheap, and when this happens, obviously a huge disappointment. Sonia Vega from Cutler Bay sent this in. Some damage there. They'll have to clean it up. And then look at this. Ari Montoya got a picture of his neighbor out in the storm washing his car. Not sure what gives here, but the guy decided to wash the car. Another picture here of the street lights. Looks like they're actually coming down here. This picture sent in by Leslie Vasquez in Coral Springs. This was at noon. The road flooded out. Of course, if lights are out like that, folks, you want to treat it as a four-way stop and be courteous. This picture here is from the Savoy Hotel in Miami Beach from Gary Heyer. And this photo here is from Sue Bakervach. This is the shot from the 23rd floor on Hollandale Beach. We have a picture from Brian Osman. This is from the Venetian Causeway. You know, they had that water main break there yesterday, but that is all cleared up, so the flooding there is not a problem anymore. Wind is the story. On Miami Beach, Thais Bueno sent this picture of us. Can you make out there's some people in the water there? Again, the rip currents. It is too dangerous to be in the water right now. You're not advised to do that. And our final picture to share with you, looks like it's crooked, actually. This is from Las Olas Boulevard, so turn your head to the side. That's Anthony Pradeo sent that in to us. We enjoy your pictures, and we appreciate you sending them in. Go ahead and send it to us with your name, your location, and any synopsis you'd like to add to it. Pics at cbsmiami.com. And we are going to continue to bring them to you throughout the evening. Shannon, Elliott, back to you.
That was a great picture, Cynthia, from Las Olas, but my neck is hurting a little bit from looking at it. My favorite, bar none, was the one of Gigi the dog in the little rain. So, you know, we heard earlier from Craig Setzer, who says that this type of damage that we've seen, which are branches that came down and damaged the car or the roof of the house, that is typical tropical storm damage. It's not so much the wind blowing away your roof. It's more like a branch coming down, an awning, you know, being damaged or things like that. So it's typical. It's consistent with what we see with a tropical storm.
Because you get those quick wind bursts.
But the thing is, this is not going to stay a tropical storm. They expect it to become a hurricane, but it's not going to be our problem. It's going to be a problem for other parts of the country.
And of course, it's a big story that we will be continuing to stay on top of. We're going to check in once again with CBS 4's Kerry Codd, and he is live in Key West. And really, this is, I think, the area that got the brunt of Tropical Storm Isaac. Do we know about power outages, Kerry, in that area?
You know, Shannon, I don't. I'll have to check on that and get back with you. I'm not sure, but I haven't heard of anything. I heard just of, you know, earlier this morning, I heard that there were some scattered power outages, but nothing to speak of. But we'll try to get firmer numbers on that and get back with you. Just had a pretty good wind gust come in right as we took the live shot here, and you can still see the situation. The white caps out here on the water. There are some, obviously this is an area where people dock their boats. We talked to a guy a little while ago who has a boat that's actually moored on the other side of that island. I asked him, I said, is your boat okay? Are you out here, you know, you want to make sure it didn't, you know, get unhooked or something? And he said, no, my boat is fine. So, you know, the folks down here, they really do know how to take care of their property, obviously take care of themselves. I do have a question, you know, for somebody on the weather team, the storm team, if they're there. We were looking at a weather map, and it looks like there might be sort of an eye that's coming over this area here, but I know you guys said earlier that there really was no eye with this storm. I don't know if you can explain that or maybe give us a little bit of an understanding on that.
Take a look here at a real-time Doppler, and there's a center. I mean, usually when we talk about an eye, that is with a well-developed central dense overcast with a mature hurricane. But, you know, tropical storms have centers as well. Now, the pressure is dropping in this, okay? And so we're showing the viewers right now a close-up view of the Doppler radar over Key West. And indeed, let me just illustrate this for everybody. That core, that northern and western semicircle, has now pivoted to the north and west of Key West, and indeed the center is beginning to pass over Key West. So you likely are seeing significantly lighter winds and rain-free, or relatively rain-free in this area. And since the storm may be getting a little bit stronger, that center is becoming a little bit more defined, and as a result, conditions are calming down there just a bit for now. But again, the winds could pick up more out of the south as that center passes off to the north and west and does become potentially a little bit stronger tonight. So that's the main caveat, that things are gradually getting better in Broward and Miami-Dade, but in the lower Keys, if this storm starts to really wind up tonight, it's not going to be far enough away from the mid and lower Keys to bring the winds down. In fact, it's not inconceivable that the winds might even increase a little bit before it gets better.
Well, and David, that dovetails with exactly what we're seeing out here the last 30 minutes or so. It's been very little rain and just a few scattered wind gusts, and the visibility has certainly increased quite a bit out here. We've also seen a lot more people coming out to Mallory Square. Lots of people on bikes, some people walking a dog or two, just taking in the storm. Even some people who have decided to even go swimming. But of course, county and city officials want to urge people to stay indoors during the duration of this storm. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Carrie, thanks a lot. And of course, if anyone has any questions as to what's going on in Monroe County, the number to call is 211. In Miami-Dade and Broward counties, it's 311. And we just checked in with them. They've gotten about 25,000 calls, people wondering what's going on. But the biggest question they've received is about public transportation.
Oh.
When is that going to start up? So we have been reporting that in Miami-Dade, buses are going to start at 3:40. If you take the Metro Rail or Metro Mover, that'll be back in action at 5 a.m. in Miami-Dade, and in Broward, bus service resumes at 4:30 a.m.
Things getting back to normal, slowly but surely. Carrie Codd was mentioning going for a swim. Here's one place you definitely do not want to do that, Miami Beach, as the surf whips up. You can see a few people, though, are going for a walk on this Sunday afternoon as we're dealing with Tropical Storm Isaac. And now in Hollywood, we see somebody who's also getting a little close. We can't see the person because of that graphic.
Maybe they're not wearing clothes. I mean, that's why we're covering them up.
Maybe that's it, and that's a good thing.
I'm just kidding.
Don't want to see that, but we see one guy out there venturing. The advice about this is do not do it. Do not do it because the winds are very rough. The riptides are out there. You could be washed out. And not only are you endangering your life, you're endangering the life of any kind of beach patrol person or lifeguard or rescue person who's out there as well. So you definitely don't want to do that. Not a good idea. We don't have too much time left to go with this storm. Let's just wait it out.
Time right now is 3:40 on this Sunday afternoon as you look at these live pictures once again from Key West. We've been bringing you extended coverage of Tropical Storm Isaac and its impact here on South Florida. We can tell you we're going to stay on the air with you until 4 p.m. tonight. So stay with us for the next 20 minutes. We'll be right back.
This town burns brighter than Times Square. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you the new Las Vegas.
Mr. Mayor, they found a girl, murdered.
Send a car to this man's ranch. His name is Lamb, Ralph Lamb. I need you to find this killer.
I'm not a cop.
You were, and a damn good one.
Vincent Savino in the flesh.
Every crew in the country is planting their flags. I'm gonna plant mine. You don't walk into my house, not unless you want me in yours.
I'm the law here, Mr. Savino, and I will decide who's breaking it.
South Florida families in crisis. Join the Neighbors for Neighbors Family Fund.
People need to start helping their neighbors. A feeling that you've never experienced before in your life. And it's only a feeling that you get when you give to people like that.
On behalf of my foundation, also with Neighbors for Neighbors, with everything that they do. It's just a great partnership.
We want to help in every aspect that we can.
It just warms the heart.
To find out how to get involved, call Neighbors for Neighbors or visit neighborsforneighbors.org.
Welcome back with our continuing coverage of Tropical Storm Isaac. I want to let you know basically what our plans are today. We've been with you most of the day, letting you know what's going on with the storm. We're going to stay on the air until 4 o'clock this afternoon. Then we are going to bring you the advisory at 5 o'clock. That'll be an important advisory to see exactly what's happening with the storm. We, of course, will have CBS 4 News at 6:30, and we'll have an extended 1-hour newscast tonight at 11 o'clock. But we are in the winding down stage of this storm. Some people are venturing out by the beach. Not a good idea. Some people are deciding to go out for walks. Also not a good idea. Let's just wait it out a little bit longer.
Yeah, nice Sunday night just to hang out at home. So that's our plan here at CBS 4. Chief Meteorologist Dave Bernard is joining us once again. And David, the storm kind of moved a little bit faster than we thought, and that's why we're getting some of these bands out of the way. We're not having to deal with them until well into the evening hours. Is that right?
That's the good news, right? Here it is. Things are slowly winding down. It's around 4 o'clock. I kind of thought maybe 8 o'clock this evening we would get to this point, so I don't think anybody's complaining that the storm is moving out quicker. Now, this is the 2 o'clock advisory, Shannon, and again, it had 50 miles south-southeast of Key West, but as Kerry Codd was observing, he's beginning to get some calm winds there, indicating that the center is just about smack dab right over Key West. It's a pretty large center at that. It's not like it's one tiny little point, but nevertheless, it's continuing to move to the west-northwest at around 18 miles per hour. Now, on the 2 o'clock advisory, the pressure was 994, but again, I just saw that plane report, and I talked to Dr. Rick Knabb of the Hurricane Center about it, and it was 992. So whether or not this is the beginning of that intensification that they're expecting, we'll just have to wait and see. But nevertheless, that's the first time in about 8 or 10 hours that we've seen any kind of a pressure drop with the tropical storm. Okay, here is the next story, and where is this storm going to end up? And the future track as of the 11 a.m. advisory, that was the last track forecast they put out. Again, the 5 o'clock is going to have a new track forecast and intensity forecast, but at this time, anywhere from southeast Louisiana, including New Orleans, Biloxi, Mobile, including the Florida Panhandle to Pensacola, is in danger of a strong hurricane Tuesday night and Wednesday. Right now, their forecast is calling for a high-end Category 2, and you know what the rule is around here. Because the uncertainties and intensity forecasting is so great, we always have to tell people you have to prepare for a category higher. That's why with this, it was a tropical storm, and we said we have to prepare for the possibility it could be a Category 1, and the Hurricane Center felt the same way. That's why we had the hurricane warnings issued for the Florida Keys, and so this is going to be a real tricky forecast. Everybody knows how vulnerable the Panhandle is to storm surge in Mobile Bay, and gosh, everybody knows the New Orleans story as well, so we're not done with Isaac by any means. There's still a lot still to come. Here's a live look outside from our CBS 4 studios. Good news here. Look, the satellite dishes are still intact, and that's a good sign because during Wilma, you're probably going to remember this, Elliot. Those were just blasted across the parking lot. I don't remember how many of those that we lost, but it's good that we're only basically seeing the palm fronds blowing right now, and we've just had a few heavy squalls. Now, here's a look at some of the observations from this afternoon. Some of the heavier rain totals, that's the other good news, as Shannon pointed out, with the storm moving faster and none of these bands really training that much, that's limited the flood potential. And so we've had a lot of rain in South Dade. We've had rain in Miami Shores, Lauderdale Lake, Central Broward. We've had a lot of rain, and in Key Biscayne, a lot of rain and some pretty good wind gusts, but overall, not as bad as it could have been. This is pretty typical stuff of what we would expect from a moderate to strong tropical storm over South Florida, so it's not all that surprising. Here is the broad view right now on real-time Doppler radar. Again, the center of the tropical storm is located right here. That really bad weather we saw the last 3 or 4 hours over most of South Florida, it's that whole core right in here, and that has now moved off to the north and west. So that's over Naples right now, and Fort Myers, and just north and west of the Keys. But notice that we still have some storms that are affecting parts of South Florida. So let's come into mainland Broward and also Miami-Dade, and the bulk of it is in Broward County right now, and we're even getting some lightning strikes. So I don't want anybody to think that the storms are going to end. In fact, we still could see some flooding problems tonight and tomorrow with any heavier bands that do set up. But again, it's going to be spotty in nature and not widespread. But nevertheless, we're getting some pretty fast movers in Broward County right now, and if you're under one of those, you're saying, hey, the storm's not over yet. And indeed, there's still some pretty heavy rain out there. So if you're traveling this evening around the area, if you're going to be on the elevated bridges, the causeway, the intercoastal in Broward County, you're going to have to hold on tight. We're still going to have some very strong winds, probably near tropical storm force at times, especially through the evening hours, and you may get blindsided by one of these fast-moving squalls that comes through that could produce some really blinding torrential rain for a brief amount of time before it moves on. But the trend is it's winding down for South Florida, and we are appropriately winding down our coverage here in the next 15 minutes, but staying vigilant. We're going to be fully staffed here in weather control. As you mentioned, we're going to have the 5 o'clock advisory with the updated track and intensity forecast, which is of great interest, of course, to our friends in the Florida Panhandle and the northern Gulf Coast. And then we have CBS 4 News at 6:30, coming up a full newscast then from 6:30 to 7 o'clock. Back to you guys.
And then we'll have a special 1-hour edition of CBS 4 News 2 tonight at 11 p.m. David Bernard, thank you so much. And we know that the biggest wind gusts were felt in the Keys, sometimes more than 60 miles per hour. So we were wondering about power outages in that area. And our assignment desk just checked with both of the power companies that provide power to those people living in the Keys, and no outages to report. So that is terrific news for those people who live in the Keys. Florida Power and Light had a few thousand people who did not have power, but they're working to restore that real quick.
That's great news for the folks in the Keys. And our reporter in Marathon has been David Setta, who's been going live from different locations, but he's not the kind of guy to stay put in one place.
Can't keep him down.
He likes to move around, right, David?
Absolutely. We're moving around. We're kind of checking things out. I got to say, we're all very happy to have that power on the Keys, especially Peter Dench right now. He worked the overnight shift. He just got back to the hotel. I'm sure he's enjoying the hot water, air conditioning, and getting dry again. Listen, we're in the Marathon neighborhood, as you can see down here. You know, obviously everyone is home and kind of staying indoors today. I wanted to show you the other side here, though, from the car. Kyle Hall, a photographer here, panning over. That's the Atlantic Ocean there. You see a lot of white caps out there. To be frankly honest, I'm actually not that impressed. I really thought it was going to be a lot more based on the size of this storm and the intensity that we were expecting. And you know what? I'm glad to be disappointed. Actually, I wouldn't call it disappointment. I would say that this is great news for Marathon. I'm going to go ahead and put the car in gear. We're actually going to head out here. You can kind of see a little bit of the neighborhood. You can see that the Florida Keys definitely paid attention to the advisories. Everyone here on this street has their storm shutters up, some even using some boards. Everyone paid attention to this one, and perhaps it was a good test run for us as the hurricane season starts moving into its peak. But for the most part, here in the Florida Keys, it looks like we've been spared. In fact, much of the weather you guys have been experiencing in Miami-Dade and Broward County has been very similar to what we've been experiencing here. Now we're pulling up to US 1. You can go ahead and see out of my window there. This is northbound. The car's headed towards us. Not a whole lot of people out today. Everybody just staying safe, staying inside. But for the most part, this is it. This really hasn't been that much of an event for here in the Keys besides, you know, the typical summer storm. We're going to go ahead and pull out here safely, of course. And we're going to start making our way towards 7 Mile Bridge, check things out there. We saw it there earlier today, and I can tell you there were a few tourists out there. It was an interesting scene, everybody just trying to kind of take it all in. We're going to check that out, and we're going to have that coming up in our 6:30 broadcast. We'll get you some pictures from there and show you what things look like. But for the most part, as we drive around Marathon here in the Middle Keys, about 50 miles north of Key West, storm shutters up, but for the most part, the trees are upright, the signs are upright. And that's good news. It looks like we escaped what we thought was going to be a lot worse.
Hey, David, let me ask you a question as you keep going. First of all, let me just say congratulations. I didn't know you could do that with a live television camera. It's pretty cool. You've talked to some of the business people there in the Keys, and they're taking a financial hit as a result of this, aren't they?
Well, if you opened up a bar last night, you did very well, I got to say about that. But yes, a lot of people took the precaution here, and they decided to err with closing up today. Some people flirted with the idea of opening up today, but as you can see as we drive along here, all the businesses have closed up, and on the other side of us is actually the Marathon Airport here. You can see obviously there are no flights leaving from here today. You know, the hope is that they can get things going again tomorrow, but we'll just have to see how that goes. But even the airport completely shuttered up there as we move along here. Yes, definitely a financial hit for the Keys, but you know, the great news about all of this is, hey, Labor Day is coming up, and they're going to be open for business. It's not going to be a rebuilding situation here in the Keys.
Yeah, it's only a week away, and hopefully we'll have some beautiful weather, more conducive for spending a terrific weekend in the Keys and enjoying everything that really unique part of the country has to offer, which is all the beautiful scenery, the water, the diving, the boating that you really can't get in other parts of this country.
And it is really terrific when you look at this, because they did get some big wind gusts. But you see David is driving around. You don't see a lot of debris on the road. Obviously, you still see the trees blowing in the wind. But things really, David, appear to be terrific, and not that many people out on the road right now. But have you seen a lot of traffic lights out? Or everything seems to be good? I know we've been reporting that for residential customers, the power companies don't have any power outages to report.
No, we have not had, I mean, we've been kind of monitoring all day. There hasn't been any real power outages for us. I know there were some in the early morning hours, but Keys Energy was really able to get on top of that rather quickly. You know, Keys Energy services much of the lower Keys here, and for the most part, it just really hasn't been that intense. We've been getting these rain bands that come through, but you still see the firefighters out. You still see the law enforcement officers out. You know, everyone's still kind of maintaining, because we didn't really have that sustained tropical force winds gusting kind of coming through the area. So that's really been the story today. We just have not really been experiencing what you typically would expect with a storm of this size. I mean, I honestly, you know, yesterday when we were about this time talking with the meteorologists, we all were thinking that we were going to be in the thick of this, you know, for many, many hours. But, you know, this morning when you woke up here in the Keys, you woke up to sunshine. It was really weird. You had the sun shining, and the sky was out, and people were out just kind of walking around in a daze.
Yeah, you're right, David.
And then as the day progressed, you saw the storm bands coming in. You saw things kind of get worse, but, you know, for the most part, that just never really materialized the way we thought it would.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, David. These were not sustained tropical storm winds that the folks in Marathon or other parts of South Florida saw today. These were more bands that came through, and then you got the high winds, you got the rough surf, but then it died down for a little while. You even got some sunshine in some parts, although you don't see any sunshine there. You just see some gray, dreary, wet weather, but certainly nothing that's going to cause damage at this point as the storm goes away.
As David pointed out, the good news is that they will be putting on the party next weekend, and they're not going to have to worry about cleanup, because that would really slow things down. So here's a live look from Monroe County, and now we want to kind of move you up. Let's go live to Miami-Dade County, where CBS 4's, thank you so much, David Sutto. CBS 4's Maggie Newland has been there, and she's going to give us an update right now as to how things are going, and it's good to see you still have your baseball hat on, Maggie. Didn't blow away.
Yeah, Shannon, I was just going to tell you how much the weather had changed and how we had just seen blue skies and the sun was coming out, but now the wind has picked up again, which just goes to show how quickly the weather is changing still here on Miami Beach. If you do take a look, you can see there are people out now. We've seen a lot of people come out within the last half hour or so. There was a peak of sunshine. Everyone came to the water. But what we've also seen, and it's too far down the beach to zoom in on right now, but there is a police car on the beach and there is an ocean rescue truck on the beach, and they are going up and down the beach and they are warning people not to get in the water. It may look like a lot of fun, but that surf is very rough out there. We did see a guy run into the water with a surfboard. The ocean rescue truck came just a couple of minutes later, told him to get on out of the water. We have to be safe now. Now, what I want to ask David Bernard, if he's there, is what we've heard a lot about possibility of flooding here on Miami Beach. I know we have some areas that tend to flood here. Is the concern over, or has the rain been hard enough that we're going to deal with flooding possibly tonight or tomorrow?
I don't think so, Maggie. And again, and that goes for all of South Florida. We have not seen one flash flood warning issued through the whole entire event. And a lot of it's attributed to, one, the storm continuing to move between 15 and 20 miles per hour very quickly. And oftentimes when we get these flooding situations, it's when those intense feeder bands continue to track over the same area. The closest we got to that was in South Dade a few hours ago. And I saw some pretty heavy squalls moving over those areas. But even that, you know, here in South Florida, kind of like a sponge, we can absorb quite a bit of water before we start getting to a lot of problems. So fortunately, that aspect of it did not materialize today. This has been a pretty typical garden variety, moderate to strong tropical storm, and what we saw is about what we expect. So things are in pretty good shape, and I imagine not too bad as far as the flooding problems on Miami Beach. I'm sure there's an intersection here or there with a little bit of water, but nothing widespread.
And that's certainly good news for people who live here. But again, if you are heading out to the beach to take a look, just be safe and stay out of the water. We're live on Miami Beach. Shannon Elliott.
Thanks a lot, Maggie Newland, reporting live from Miami Beach. You're seeing more and more people venturing out right now just to check things out.
And now let's go farther north to Broward County and Hollywood and Summer Knowles. Summer?
Guys, maybe about 5 minutes after we talked last time, complete change in the weather. Another band came through. It was raining, pouring down rain. But you can see it's changed once again. A lot of people out here just anxious to get out the house, just want to be outside. Take a look over there very quickly, though. This is what they're asking people not to do, not to get in the water. But we have continued to see more and more people doing that. Hopefully, we won't have any injuries. But again, the wind is starting to pick up just a little bit right now. We're seeing wind gusts of about 30 miles per hour right now, and it continues to pick up. So we'll continue to keep you posted on everything that's going on out here. But so far, everyone's still having a good time. Back to you.
All right, Summer, thanks a lot. So Summer's getting those wind gusts right now, David, but about 30 miles per hour. But earlier, they were reaching about 60, weren't they?
Yeah, early this morning, actually, some of the strongest wind gusts we saw were in Broward County earlier this morning, and they were around 60 miles per hour. And, you know, people thought, oh, well, the hurricane watch is for Miami-Dade, and Broward just has a tropical storm warning. That's what a tropical storm is, 60-mile-per-hour winds. Right. So, again, anywhere in the warning area, you could have seen those bad conditions. And, again, the bad weather can happen way away from the center. And that was the case in this. Look at the radar picture there. The center is near Key West, but look how broad this tropical storm is. The bad weather and the winds extend for hundreds of miles away from the center of circulation.
David, finally, we were lucky, you think, because this storm sped up. Because if this had been a slower-moving storm through us with those bands, it could have been a lot worse.
Right. That's when we would have had the bad flooding problems. We were lucky for two reasons. The other reason I think we were lucky, if that storm about 4 or 5 days ago, when this was all sort of embryonic and just beginning, if that storm had moved slow, we might have had a much stronger storm as well.
Okay. David, thanks a lot. We're going to be leaving you now, but if any news warrants, we will be coming back to you live. We'll be back at 5 o'clock with that important 5 p.m. advisory on Tropical Storm Isaac.
Then we'll be back with CBS 4 News at 6:30 and a special edition tonight on CBS 4 News at 11 o'clock. Hope to see you then.
You can always go to cbsmiami.com. Have a good night.